flicker, a life untold. Stories rewritten, but never grown old. We carry the echoes of battles before, blades in our hands, but fate keeps the score. Who pulls the strings? Who holds the key? The gods are watching the old school 3. We're lost in the echoes, caught in the tide. Worlds keep on shifting, but we're still inside. 3 brave and lost heroes, torn in two, fighting for answers they never knew. Riftwardens whisper, the black fire burns. Prophecies written in lessons unlearned. Mythic born power from lives we once led. But why do we rise when we should be dead? We dance in the shadows, fate calls our name. 3 gods are playing their infinite game. Who holds the strings? Who holds the key? The gods are watching the old school 3. We're lost in the echoes, caught in the tide. Worlds keep on shifting, but we're still inside. 3 brave and lost heroes, torn in two, fighting for answers they never knew. We've seen these faces, we've walked these roads, but time resets and the cycle goes. Are we the players, or are we the pawns? Trapped in the story, but still moving on. We're lost in the echoes, caught in the tide. Bound to the wheel, but we stand with pride. 3 brave and lost heroes, torn in two. We'll break the cycle, or see it renewed.
Hello, friends and enemies, heroes and villains. Welcome to the Old School 3 tabletop RPG based in the Pathfinder 1st edition rule set. Thank you guys so much for being here. That is the new theme song that's taken me months. I've been working on this since the Claimer's Conquest song was done. Not even the Stolen Souls, not even the merger, the Stolen Conquest. Like, I've been working on the lyrics for that forever, and I think I've thrown away 13 sets of lyrics in that course of time, and finally brought it together, finally done, and I love it. And of course, the video scrolling was too much for the video scrolling in OBS to handle, so I had to literally make a video of it. So that's one of my latest projects, of the many projects I've been working on. So thank you guys so much for being here. Quick announcement before we get started. I want to say this, and I want to be perfectly clear. I 100% support anybody who's doing the Amazon boycott. So if you're not here, I understand. However, I do want to say, if you want to boycott them and you still want to support, you can still find me on YouTube. You can still find me on Kick. You can still watch the streams there. You can still, instead of doing subs, you can do direct donate, or you can go and buy merchandise from the merchandise store if you want to support the stream, but you don't want to give any money to Amazon. Those are options. So please, by all means, tell Amazon to go F themselves. So, with that being said, the Old School 3, as the song told, we're playing characters that have existed on multiple occasions. This cycle of real life happening and them getting pulled into an alternate world, which seems to be all the rage right now. It's kind of the cool thing to do, and I guess we're the hipsters of the RPG into real life kind of genre, because a lot of people are doing that right now. Well, we've been doing it since 1998, so fuck y'all. And this ties into all of the games that we've done multiple times since then. So, with that being said, we are playing versions of ourselves. I am the game master currently. We have had multiple game masters. Where last we left off, the team ended up having to leave this extra dimensional space that they were in. And they did so through a door that they found, that they ended up finding was a great way to leave after their mission was over, and the devices they were using to kind of transport around and back kind of finally died. Those characters met some fae folk who were wonderful to help, and because of their affiliation with the wizard / druid that owned the extra dimensional space, who also took care of the forest, they were able to learn where they were kind of in the world at this point and reset their bearings. And they realized they were not too far away from a town that they spent many months in, the town of Bistons Pond. And they came to Bistons Pond and kind of reacquainted themselves with the citizenry there, and found out that the town had quite grown in the 1.5 to 2 years since their absence. There's a new school that they had built. There is actually a sign or like a display there in their honor for clearing out the area from the haunted windmill that was once in its place. And they are known as the what did I say you guys were? The I forget what it is off the top of my head.
Yeah, I don't remember now.
But you guys had cleared that area out. You met the headmaster, kind of got a little bit of a tour. You found out a lot of people had moved in. Places that were like a tent city were now actual finished buildings. The lumber mill is growing and going. Crusaders have started to move into town. Other people moving in. And they're actually voting to rename the town, because the town is going to become an official town of Varisia, which will be recognized by both Korvosa and Magnamar. And that is the process that they are doing. They still haven't figured out legislature. They haven't figured out like how the government system's going to work or any of that, let alone what's going to happen with the old plot of Sandpoint, which is now basically an empty, barren, rocky crag wasteland. From there, they realized that they still needed to get to their next destination. They were requested to go back to the location of Ustalav. And now they wanted to go back to one of their other bases that they had, because they have like 3 of them. And they wanted to go back there and kind of catch up on everything that they had done for a previous adventure. On top of that, looming was this ever-gnawing presence of they lost these items that these deities had given them. And by lost, I mean they were stolen. Now, because it had been so long since that had happened, one of the deities had intervened and kind of sent them a subtle threat of not to lose this shit again. Keep a close eye. Now, out of character, a lot of this is on me, so don't blame the characters, blame the GM. The adventure that I had for you guys to retrieve them just wasn't going to work. Other things had happened, and instead of having you guys do something that storyline-wise and timeline-wise wasn't going to help and didn't make sense, that was my alternative. So for you guys, you did nothing wrong. It wasn't on you, it was on me, and that was my way of rectifying the situation. So, and to also include like rebuff that they are there and these things matter. So this is in lieu of whereabouts you would have been had other shenanigans not taken place, and the way things layered on. So you guys.
Wait, you didn't mean for us to go to the plane of fire?
No, I didn't. I didn't mean for you to go to the plane of fire. I didn't. That was a guest. That was a guest GM thing, and then of course that turned into other stuff, and then since we already had the guest GM, we had another guest GM, and I was like, well, we're out of time. We're out of sites anyhow. Let's just keep this shit going. So, and both games, don't get me wrong, Adam's game was fantastic and a lot of fun. Andrew's game was fantastic and a lot of fun. So, like, nothing on them either. Those were amazing games, and well worth the little chicanery that I ended up just needing to pull. It actually just saved me time and effort is all it was. So, so you all discovered the town of Bistons Pond, re-caught up on things. I want to ask you guys, because I talked to you guys a little bit in our Google chat about a certain situation. And I want your opinion, because it's going to affect the continuity of this town for the remainder of any other things that happen here at Bistons Pond, slash the town that is here. So
Okay.
historically, because I did find my notes for Bistons Pond. So there's the Pathfinder Lodge, and then there is a bar. There is a bar that has a halfling who is the person that Brian always partied with. And then there's the Pathfinder Lodge, which is where you guys were staying, and that had a gnome that was running the Pathfinder Lodge. The last game when we were doing that, we kind of merged the two characters, and we put the bar in the Pathfinder Lodge, and it was all kind of one merger thing for that game. When I found my notes, I was like, they're two separate things.
In my notes, though, I had that I was partying with the gnome in the Pathfinder Lodge.
But he wasn't the eagle-themed one?
Yeah, the bar was by a former Eagle Knight from
Yes.
Andoran.
Correct.
Yeah, Averin, the proprietor.
Okay, so you were partying with the gnome. Then I merged the two in the last game. So the halfling is separate. Do we want that to be official? They are still two separate beings and two separate locations?
I like them being two separate because I like the idea of having an Andoran bar in Varisia.
Okay.
Because I just think that's kind of cool, especially because, like, Team Andoran, fuck yeah.
Yeah, well,
Like-
the thing was, is the Pathfinder Lodge was like, I built in the bar the second time around. I was like displaying all the Eagle Knight stuff and all of like the Andoran bar stuff in the Pathfinder Lodge, like a bar and hotel.
Mhm.
And I kind of put the bar in the hotel. And then I was like, nope, they're two separate things. So we will reverse that. And it's not that big of a deal. Like, we probably could have not said anything on stream, but that discussion never happened. I was like, we'll just discuss it here. So yeah, retconning basically just that last game. They are two separate people. The Andoran halfling is still there. And the fact that you guys have his name, I need you to send it to me, because what was his name?
For the halfling?
Yes, the Andoran.
Avrin.
Avarice. Thank you, because I didn't have that in my notes. I didn't have his name in my notes. Avarice.
I mean, I will say,
Thank you.
my notes are roughshod at best.
You had more notes than, you had that. I'm just glad that I found most of my notes. So,
Yeah.
all right. Now that is out of the way, I want to let the chat know that there are plenty of channel point redemptions for you guys to redeem to help with this. I did not turn the heals on because there shouldn't be combat. I think I had mythic points on and stuff. And of course, there is the very, very spendy channel point redeem, but it has a huge, possibly detrimental impact on the game, which is for these cards. I'm going to hide this one because this one has somebody's name on it already that we can't talk about.
Usually
I'll have all these, and you guys can draw for those characters, and that's right. That is right. So, at the end of it, you guys had sought out and were planning to meet the next day with the wizard Eli from the School of Magic. I forget the name. I don't think I gave it a name. The school doesn't have a name yet, officially. The Unified School of Magic. Hello, Classic Sam. Welcome on in. Thank you for the lurk. So you were going to meet with him and you were going to get a trip to Carrion Hill. Was there anything else you were going to do that next day? Brian Romeo will save.
What I'm going to do is going to depend on his will save.
Okay. All right, now roll me another one because I didn't have you roll one on the last game. Okay.
And is it versus Sonic?
It is not versus Sonic. So
Someday that'll work
on
for
the
me.
last game, you were partying with the gnome. After you partied, or before you partied with the gnome, you got to the town, you hung out, you guys slept, you woke up. But before that, you woke up in a forest and you have no idea where you're at or how you got there. Of course, your allies, your friends told you, hey, Brian, what do you mean you don't remember how we got here? We came from the extra dimensional space.
Okay.
Oh, actually, retcon. Nope, that's wrong. That you remember. You remember being at the town. Actually, you wake up this morning and you don't know how you got here. Last you knew you were in the forest at the wizard's town, at the wizard's place.
Okay. I look over
You're in a room that is familiar, and you're like, "Am I having a dream that I'm back in Bistons Pond at the Pathfinder Lodge?" You don't remember getting here.
Is Lindell there too? The gnome?
You're in your bedroom. You've got no idea.
Okay.
But yeah, you haven't been here in a year. And you don't know how you got here. Last you knew, you were in a forest of some sort, and you weren't even in a forest. You were going to sleep in a forest, and you didn't know where you were in the forest because you guys discovered where you were or how to get there the next day when you talked to Whimsy. You don't remember talking to Whimsy. You don't remember the trip to Bistons Pond. You don't remember finding out how you got here or where you were. You don't remember any of that. You don't remember traveling down the river. All you know is you went to bed in the forest outside that cabin, and you woke up in a bedroom in a Pathfinder Lodge that looks somewhat familiar because you were here.
And to
like
be
a year ago.
fair, I am alone in my bedroom.
Correct.
I gotta quit drinking. I'll check to make sure. I guess I wasn't robbed.
Yeah, you don't. You have some food missing.
Yeah, if that's the least
You
of
have
what's
about a
gone,
day's worth of food missing.
Oh, okay.
Oh, and you're hungover. You don't know why you're hungover, but you're hungover. Your throat's a little sore too.
Well, I mean, in a general sense, I probably know I am hungover.
Yeah, but you didn't really drink. Okay, you might have had a few in the woods because you were enjoying the wilderness. But yeah, and like you feel like your wings should be sore because you spent all that time flying carrying the Fae lady, but they're not sore at all. You don't feel that at all.
Huh.
But you do feel quite hungover, like you drank a lot when you didn't.
Okay. I will finish off my water skin with whatever water is left in there.
Okay.
Because hydration helps.
Even or odd?
Odd.
Odd is good.
Sure.
Odd is good. You have a full pouch of water, and it's not filled with liquor.
Not filled with glitter?
Liquor.
Oh,
your
liquor.
wineskin is not filled with wine.
That's fair. Water skin. The water skin. The liquor goes in the flask. Anyway. So yeah, I will down that to try to get rid of some of the dehydration and I guess get dressed and or get cleaned up and get dressed.
Okay. Sounds good. Matt, you've been up for a good hour. You got up,
Oh,
you got some, got probably some food. Anything else you
I
would have
think
done?
I think I just want to spend some time with the uh Ragatherial knights that have decided to move here.
Okay.
Just kind of like doing morning training drills and figuring out how I can better use Tangle to help fight alongside me.
Yeah, for sure. That makes sense. Okay. So yeah, you're working out, you're working with them. They're doing their morning routine. Of course, you've, you've done stuff with them in the past, so they know you because they've had you guys there, and they go ahead and roll yourself a sense motive.
It is. Give me 1 second with my rebuild. My inspiration's down to a D6. 21.
Nice. You get the feeling that like they haven't seen you in a year. You haven't really done a lot with them, but some of these guys seem to hold you in very high regard. Probably higher regard than really should be held.
Okay.
And it's not like they're friends with you, but they really they go out of their way to try to help you learn or help you get better or help you with whatever it is to be all you can be.
Yeah, I'll just like go along with it. Because is this kind of the same way that the front desk person at the school treated me once she realized who I am?
Yes, but not for the same reasons.
Okay. I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. If trained paladins want to help me become a better paladin than my level 3,
Right.
I will take all the help I can get.
Sounds good. Meanwhile, Nick actually does tend to he still sleeps in if he can. Sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. Today's just one of those days where he does end up sleeping in a little bit later and enjoying it because again, you guys were still you were sleeping in a tower in an extra dimensional space, but you weren't sleeping in beds. You guys set up your camping stuff in a room.
Mm-hmm.
And so you were sitting on cement floors, and then you slept outside because you guys were afraid to sleep inside the building. And even if you slept in the building, you still would have slept in tents or under, in a sleeping bag or whatever. This is the first night that it's really been an actual bed. And this is not it's not a huge Pathfinder lodge, but it's a nice Pathfinder lodge. It was one of those, it's not huge, but I'll spare no expenses in the creation of it and in the furnishing of it, because it was, unbeknownst to you guys, was originally designed to hide the Shadow Lodge group if shit went down. And so it was there for the super high level, super highly successful, full of money people. That was its design, was to hide them and people of their caliber. And so now this, while it's again not one of the largest Shadow Lodges out there, it is probably one of the most cushy.
Awesome.
So Nick spends that time sleeping in. Nick spends that time taking a nice shower. That's not outside or in the river or any of that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. The little creature comforts while you can get it.
Yeah, he's enjoying the creature comforts because you guys spent time in Thrushmoore, and Thrushmoore was all right. You were in a real bed, and the people were weird, and some of them they were very standoffish. But the comforts weren't bad, but they also weren't good.
Yeah, they went through a lot of crap, and it takes a lot more time and money than
right. So
done just to get it better.
So yeah, so this is, and so you guys, you're going to Thrushmoore, and so, well, you're going to Ustalav, and that's your judgment, is that. So, Nick sleeps in. Brian, you get up. You get dressed. You go out. I'm assuming breakfast, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you guys want to do in particular? Anybody you want to talk to? It's a town full of people. We've gone through most of them. Shops, buy, sell, trade, any of that kind of stuff before you meet with Eli and end up leaving town.
Go ahead, Brad.
We had some equipment that I mean, we don't have to role play it or anything, but we had some equipment that I guess I just wanted to double check what you guys wanted to do with it before we
Yeah, and I
decided
think we were
to
supposed to on the side sell it between
we did
games
it.
and never got around to it.
Okay, I'll work on that in the background here.
Okay, so we'll just say you sell some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We'll track the items you sell to the town, because that's going to be useful in future games with our lovely viewers or our other streamer friends that are going to come in and guest in the game that will happen here in town down the road. In fact, because you guys know this about me, Matt and Brian know this about me, our viewers don't know this about me. One of the reasons that I can't find shit half the time is because I save everything. And so when I have a stack of shit like this in 12 different places, that becomes a problem. Luckily, in the world of emails, all it takes is one search in my email or my Google Drive to find shit that I need. And I have emails that go back to 2016 of things, including things that have been sold from other players in this town, including us. And so I've got 3 printouts of shit that's been sold in this town that I'm going to go through, and I'll probably cross some of it off because it's sold since then, but yeah.
It is kind of nice having a little extra.
Yeah. So yeah, I've got multiple lists, including the entire list from the original Sandpoint campaign where we had a shop here that we've dropped everything in.
Nice.
So,
Awesome.
that being said, you sell stuff, Matt. Were you going to say something?
Nope.
Okay. You guys end up meeting with Eli. Eli's like, where are we headed specifically? You said Ustalav. You mentioned Thrushmoore.
No, mention that we don't want to go to Thrushmoore.
You don't want, yeah, but you mentioned Thrushmoore, but where?
Oh, Carrion Hill.
Okay. So I'm not going to roll because it might go really poorly.
Mm-hmm.
Because his knowledge of Carrion Hill is not that great. The chances of him landing a perfect drop in there are also not that great. So we're going to wave the magic wand, because it's going to be better for a little bit of story if you guys don't show up dead center of the town and I have you guys walk in. But I also am not going to put you guys 100 miles outside of town.
Cool.
So with that being said, he casts teleport to Carrion Hill. And if I can remember exactly how to transfer you guys when I have things in folders, I can just click and drop down, move party ribbon here, right?
Yeah.
And you guys can see it without your tokens, correct?
Yes.
Excellent.
So you're saying there's a chance that he could have really screwed things up with his magic.
Correct. There is.
The chat wants someone to draw a fame and fortune card.
What?
Weird. Just that weird terror of...
Matt, you do know that works in multiple ways.
I finally had enough points.
Oh, hot damn.
All right.
All right, I'm going to tell you when. Ready? Here we go.
Stop.
All right. Do you want the top of this pile or the bottom of this pile?
Let's go with the top. I'm afraid.
Well, Brian, it's a good thing you just sold a bunch of shit.
Okay. Because
So, your thoughts of Thrushmoore and some of the hardships that you saw Thrushmoore was facing, and the upbringing and the positivity of Bistons Pond and how it's earned and how it's grown because of the generosity of others, because of the philanthropy of the original people that founded the town, helping all of the people that, like, in Sandpoint's disaster after disaster,
okay.
has helped you to realize that philanthropy and material things are not something you necessarily need as much of.
Okay.
And therefore you got the philanthropy card. Your character contracts a reverse form of kleptomania. He or she is seized by an overwhelming desire to just give something to everyone they encounter, even friends and family, if the victim of this card has not seen them since the day before. Thrifty characters afflicted by this malady usually carry large quantities of copper pieces. So, yeah, so basically, if you haven't seen them in 2 days, you tended to feel like you need to give them something.
Gifts
Now-
are your love language.
Now again,
Okay.
it says characters with this tend to carry a lot of copper, so you don't have to give out, that +5 Holy Avenger. You can just give out a couple copper to people here and there.
I did it one time, and it's because I wasn't a paladin.
So there you go.
Different character, also, but
I'm just going to let you roleplay this for as long as you want, or as short as you want, or as long as your memory concludes.
That's fair.
I'm
Okay.
not going to hold you to it, but there may or may not be rewards for it, provided I remember you have it.
Fair enough.
May or may not. So, that being said, that is the card you drew. You now are a philanthropist and you want to give shit away. Thank you for the drawing of the card. It has been shuffled back into the deck. And just keep in mind, Brian, that you also have multiple chats and can, return favors.
I dig it.
And welcome on into the person and the bot that just came in to spam us. So thank you for the follow. It won't be worth anything. That being said, guys, you guys teleport in front of the town of Carrion Hill, and you see it's called a hill, and it's just strange because it looks like, what is the Minas Tirith or whatever in Lord of the Rings, like the
Minas
wall?
Tirith?
Yeah, the wall of a city.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like that, but instead of being like in a cave, it's like on a cone, a tower, straight up. Now, this map that you guys see, I want to, and this is also for the chat. This map, these aren't buildings that you see. These are like city blocks filled and teamed with buildings. And the reason I say this is because I want to bring something to the forefront for you. If I can, if it'll let me. So I'm going to move this to the front. So if you've heard of the town of Carmaga, which we've done in the Claimer's Conquest, Carmaga is a large, large city. Here is Carmaga. Now, that is the size comparison. Carmaga fits inside Carrion Hill. About by that much. Carrion Hill is just under twice the population and size of Carmaga. because the map doesn't do it justice. The map doesn't tell you how huge Carrion Hill really is. So I wanted to give you a visual representation of a map that actually looks like its size, because Caramaga is about 5,500 people. Carrion Hill is 9,400 people. So
Okay.
just to give you that representation of what what we're talking about when we talk about the size of Carrion Hill, because this makes it look tiny. And here is another, this is a hand drawing that somebody made of what Carrion Hill kind of looks like.
Yeah, a lot of verticality.
You may or may not see in the background the big like tower castle on the outside cliffs.
Okay.
Keep that location in mind and how that looks in the grand scheme of how this whole town is. So you end up outside, and what the first thing you realize is that to the left and to the right, so to the right of you as you're entering the town, and you are coming in on the bottom right of the map. Switch to that level so that I can do things. So you're coming in on the bottom right of the map. This is kind of one of the main entrances of the town. And then the bottom one is also a main entrance. Actually, we're going to say the bottom one you're coming in on. The town, you realize, is kind of on a river, but it's also on a swamp. So a lot of these things, these buildings and stuff, they're on cliff faces, they're on a giant hill. Why anybody would want to live on a river that's kind of on a swamp is beyond you, but this hill seems like it protrudes out, and it's kind of built in the one safe place of this area. You can't see a lot of farmlands nearby. You see a couple of buildings here and there on the outskirts of the giant wall, but the whole town builds upwards. A lot of the lower areas you see are kind of dingy and grimy in certain areas, and it's just this strange Gothic town that looks like it's been here longer than many of the towns you have visited already.
Does it look like everything was like made about the same time, so it's like all old, or does it look like some areas have become like been rebuilt as like times change? Like
from a distance, it's hard to tell because it is so huge that you can only see the part of it that's in front of you. And you know, it's off in the distance, so like you imagine a skyline, but the skyline goes up instead of across. You know, like when you're looking out at a skyline of a city of like Mexico City, like it's still flat. This isn't flat. You're looking at the entire town is the skyline as it goes up. So you just see this mishmash of like buildings and walls that kind of go up, and they just kind of mix, so it's really hard to tell. But you can tell that it's like a darker shade in the lower areas, and the higher you go in the town, the less dark it is. And what really stands out to you is it reminds you guys of cement buildings. There are a lot of buildings that look very much like cement.
Interesting.
Cement, or like that Adobe cement type working. It's not stonework. I mean, there are stonework, but it's not mainly stonework. It's like this weird clay concrete,
like a clay
structure.
stucco kind of thing.
Something along those lines. You're not. It's nothing you've ever seen
pistol
before.
whip the next guy that says shenanigans.
Shenanigans? Oh, that lined up just right where it looked like he was coming out of the map to say shenanigans. That was great.
Mhm.
Hello, Avarian. By the way, Avarian does a lot of crafting on his stream. Go check out Avarian. Woodworking and crafting, and he's got a 3D printer. It's really cool. He's got a lot of stuff going on. Definitely worth the watch to have him on and see the stuff he works on. It's really cool setup he's got over there. So yeah, it's hard to tell because, like I said, lower end, it's kind of like that. You know, when you see concrete that's been dirty and sitting, it's kind of like black and maybe a little cruddy and green. It's kind of like that, but the higher up you go, the more pristine it gets. Maybe even in some places, it almost looks whitewashed or painted.
Okay.
So that's kind of what it looks like. And Eli looks at you guys, is like, "Is this the place?"
So we've never been here, so I'm assuming like a local check.
Yeah, knowledge local will help you out.
I will
Yeah.
take a 10.
Because you can, because you're gross like that.
25.
Nice.
And I would have a 21 if I take a 10.
All right. Can you take a 10? Do you have that ability?
I do.
Awesome. So both of you look at it and you're like, oh, right. This town produces a thing called Middencrete, or Carrion Hill produces a thing called Middencrete. And it's basically concrete out of, what is it, the shells and the debris of the swamp.
Correct.
And it can stink during the processing, but because of the architecture and the way the building is, only certain areas really smell bad when it's running. But it's to you guys, as far as you guys are concerned, it's as strong as concrete.
Cool.
And there is no other town that has it. Like, this place produces it and it exports it and it teaches people how to use it. And it's one of the reasons this is, between the swamp and the Middencrete, the city is almost an impenetrable fortress.
Okay.
You also know that recently a dragon crash landed on one of its little islets and like destroyed an entire section of it. So it's not completely indestructible, but like if an invading army came, this place, well, it survived the last war. And you guys know that there was this big war that happened. You don't remember the name, but there was a war that happened and a lot of people died, and this was one of the bastions that people would escape to. While everything else in the area was completely razed and torn to the ground. There's something called the Furrows. You don't know what the Furrows is, but it's a thing in the area. It sounds familiar. It's some sort of like war reference, areas that are referenced to that war, whatever that war was. You don't really remember. So you're
then I'll just say, yep, this
you're
is
very
where we
certain
need
that
to be.
this is the city you're looking for.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I think we're here. Thank you. Well, I suppose you wanted to meet kind of like the mayor in charge.
yeah, whoever your contact is.
Yeah. Let me. His name's Riley, and he's the one that's marrying into the kind of like the noble family.
Oh, okay. Eli's like, lead the way. I'll be right behind you.
Yeah. Do we remember where we were meeting him?
Roll a. We're gonna do the memory check, which is going to be your wisdom plus basically +3. Wisdom check +3.
$23.
Brian,
Oh, my apologies.
wisdom check +3.
Wisdom +3. And not a wisdom save, just a
Correct. It's your wisdom score +3.
14.
14. Brian, funny enough, you don't remember anything. Matt, you and Nick both remember you've been here before. It was during that time that you had your memory wiped.
Oh.
But you've been here before. In fact, you were here. You showed up at the tail end of a different wedding, Mordoc's wedding. You remember Mordoc's wedding being here at this town, and you remember it being out. It wasn't at Riley's place. It was it was at Riley's place.
Was at Riley's place.
You remember it being out on one of the peninsulas. You remember it being out on that big building out on the outcropping of that other map that I showed you.
Nice.
And you do remember how to get there. In fact, you delivered a sword to him, a very magical sword that a dragon or a monster or something killed the last hero of Korvosa trying to get. The heroes of Korvosa being the ones who overthrew Queen Iliosa. And it was the bard who gave you the sword to try to get to Riley because it was going to be needed in an upcoming battle.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, just start walking there.
So you start heading that way. Along the way, you see some familiar places, and you recall that there is also a Pathfinder lodge here in town. And you know that that's ahead where you come in. You'll be. I did change my mind that you were coming in from the south. So it's ahead and to the right. You know that the Pathfinder lodge is there, and you also know that there is a bar and inn on the way, sort of on the way to where you're going.
And we were meeting him, we met with Eli at the end of the day.
Correct. So you are at the end of the day still.
Okay.
It's like probably like 4 or 5 p.m.
With how big of this town is, do I remember how long it would take to get to his place?
It would probably take a few hours unless you had like a cart or something.
Okay.
And the streets
the
streets are narrow, so like you can get a cart through. But a lot of them have like almost like the little wheelbarrow carts pulled by like a single mule or a donkey. They can take full-size wagons, but they tend not to because of the way the hills are and whatnot, and the structure, the way that everything is.
I'm gonna suggest let's just find an inn or a tavern where we can sleep for the night. And then in the morning we can go catch there. I mean, by the time we make it there, it's gonna be like 7 or 8.
Okay.
And
Sure.
Do you go
I
to
was
the
just
inn or do you go
assuming
to the
he's
Pathfinder
probably.
lodge?
Since we're with Eli, I'm gonna go to the inn.
Okay. Sounds good. So you turn, you go down the road, and you find the Lady of the Dawn Tavern and Inn. And the first thing that stands out to you when you walk in is you see all kinds of decoration, but one thing you also see is a portrait of a dwarven lady, and a picture of Mordock is kind of prominent behind the bar. Like you recognize, well, it's Mordock except for the color's wrong.
Okay.
But it's still like you're like, that's him. I recognize those teeth everywhere. And you see the dwarf is actually at the bar. And you see a couple other people are there drinking and just chatting. It seems pretty chill and relaxed.
I want to pull out our paper from Mordock. Did he offer to cover our room and board and drink in Thrushmoore, or did it say in Ustalav?
It said Thrushmoore.
Okay.
Because he doesn't know, like, you know, there's like kind of also
credit,
there's also kind of the verbal thing of like,
yep.
But you could totally try and name drop if you wanted.
Nah, I'm still not 100% okay with him sending me to the plane of fire.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's been apologies, but still. I'll just walk in.
And you do when you enter in, you actually see a wagon. It's not a huge wagon, but you see a pretty decent sized wagon, and it's got 2 horses on it that are actually literally parked outside.
Yeah, walk in and look at the proprietor and be like, how many rooms do you have available for the night?
She's like, I've got 2 rooms still available.
How many beds in each one?
So 1 bed in each of them, but we can pull
One bed
a
in each?
cot if needed. Or 2.
I look at you 4 or you 3. Like, is that?
Nick's
Yeah,
like, "Ah, okay."
sure.
They got a lot here, so I'm like, yeah, well, I'll take them for the night, and
Nick's
some-
like, Nick goes, I can, I can go to the Pathfinder Lodge and meet you guys like in the morning.
Well, that's true.
I mean, for that matter, we all can.
Well, except for Eli.
Right.
I guess if you two want to
Actually,
go to the Pathfinder Lodge
Eli
tonight,
goes,
I
well,
can.
Eli goes, no, I have a standing with the Pathfinders because of their connection in Bistons Pond.
Oh. Well,
And you
I-
hear
I
the
guess-
dwarf say, the Pathfinder Lodge, that hasn't been there in a year or 2.
oh,
I mean, they still use it for storage or some garbage there. It's still there being used, but it's not an actual lodge anymore. Not that it
well, I
ever
guess
was.
we'll be
And she
taking
says,
those
and
2
she
rooms
says
and
under her
2
breath,
cots.
she says under her breath, not that it ever really was, but
2 rooms with 2 extra cots and dinner.
she's like, she nods. Now, here's the thing: she could be full of shit and try to get you guys to spend money. You don't know.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna sense motor that. I'll just pay for the rooms, cots, and meals.
Okay. Sounds good. She says it'll be a gold and a half.
I will pay her 2 and ask for like some extra blankets.
Okay.
Like, still know that it's overpaying.
Yeah. She doesn't seem phased by that
Okay.
kind of spending at all.
Cool.
She's like, Pathfinders come in here. A lot of times
Yeah.
they're adventurers. Adventurers always overtip.
Mhm.
At least the ones that she knows.
That's fair.
She also knows that it comes with a price, that there might be a bar fight and a lot of shit's going to get wrecked. This place has been remodeled more than an occasion or 2.
That is also fair.
So,
That works.
and she slides over well, she doesn't slide a thing over. She's like, hey, can I get your names for the logbooks?
Yeah, I'll write my name down.
So you reach over, grab the book from her, pull it over,
Hmm.
write it in there yourself. Sounds
Yeah.
good. And you do fill everybody's name out, or just yours and pass it on, or
Yeah, I'll just do mine and then pass it on.
I'll write my name down.
sounds good. Eli writes his down. And then she turns it around. She's like, and then because she has to read your handwriting, she reads your names out loud to make sure that she reads them correctly, because handwriting sucks. She gets Nick's completely fucked up because Nick's handwriting sucks ass. How either of your handwriting suck ass?
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, well, my signature is probably a mess, but my actual handwriting's not completely horrible.
So she kind of like Matt, she fucks up your last name and you have to correct her.
Yeah.
Nick's in a habit of signing and not writing. And she's like, I can't read that. And he's like, oh, right, sorry. And he scribbles it out and is like, and he says it out loud. And she's like, is it, says his name. And,
I'll actually just write Brian Fitzpatrick.
Okay. And Eli, she gets Eli's name. Eli has impeccable handwriting.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't want to screw up those scrolls when you're scribing them.
No, not at all. So you hear a voice from the thing, say. Wait, did one of you guys say Nick?
Point to Nick.
And Nick turns and looks. And you got a big cat. And he's like, that checks out. And you must be, and you're Matt and Brian. Holy shit. I didn't think I'd actually see you guys here.
And you are?
And he like, he hops. Like, you see him, and he looks like a stout dude. Did I put a picture in here of him? I think I did. Let me see here. Do. If not, I will just upload another one real quick. Just gonna upload it real quick here. Because I want the picture, because the picture is fun as hell. And it helps me think of it, like, imagine the character. So you see he's like very cherubic in face, and he looks pretty stout until he gets down off of his bench, and then you realize that he is a gnome. You almost would have mistaken him for a dwarf, except for his like I said, his cherubic face.
Some type of check to try to recognize this guy?
You've got no fucking clue.
Okay.
There's what he looks like.
Uh-huh.
Pleasure to meet you, friend.
He's like, the name's Quinston. He's like, I was over in Thrushmoore when you guys were there, and you guys were helping out, and Murdoch felt bad, so he hired me to kind of like help you guys out, but some of the shit Nick did in town there really helped me out, and so I was very easily to oblige, so whatever you guys need, I'm here for. I got a wagon out back. If you want to throw stuff in there, I can haul you wherever you want to go, or I'm kind of along for the ride to help you guys out.
Oh, nice. That actually might help tomorrow. I'll pull out the information from Riley and read it. We're going to the Heartland Warriors compound.
Oh, yeah, I know where that is.
Yeah, we have a meeting with Riley there.
And he leans over and he's like, just so you know, I'm a friend of Murdoch's wife. I don't really give a rat's ass about Murdoch. He's a great guy and all, but he hired me and I liked you guys and the shit you guys did. That was awesome. So don't think I'm here just because Murdoch's paying me. I'm totally one of Alundra's friends and not one of his.
Oh, perfect. Well, thank you. That does help. I'm gonna look at the the bartender, the owner. Okay. Do you have like a messenger service or something that we could send a message out to Did Riley give us an address of like where he lives in case we didn't find him at the Heartlands Warrior compound, or no?
He did not.
Okay.
Because he didn't know when you guys were going to make it. He just kind of said whenever you guys get there.
I want to send a message to the Heartland Warriors compound to let them know that we're going to be stopping by tomorrow morning. Hopefully they can get a message out to Riley, or at least let us know if he's there.
She's like, yeah, I can send a message out.
Perfect. And I'll just kind of write a message down.
Okay.
And hand it over to her.
Sounds good. She folds it up and sticks it in her dwarven boobs.
Beer sweat.
And Quinston looks at you guys and is like, I've got the big room if you guys want to not all be cramped. Somebody else can hop in there with me. I can sit in one of the smaller rooms.
Oh, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
By the way, Matt, just so you're aware, Quinston is coming with Nick.
Oh,
because
nice.
I'm redeeming that sheet from that one-off.
That's cool.
So.
Nice.
So for those that don't know, there was a one-off game that was to fill in for a person for their birthday, and one of the sheets was you get to redeem this character to be basically a cohort for any one of your characters as long as they exist in the United Galarian world.
Cool.
I don't know if Matt realized that meant that could apply to Nick and Brian and Matt. I don't know if Brian was in that game or not. But
I think that's a cool way to introduce it.
so there we go. Quinston is I've been holding on to that since then. That's been the intent, but I haven't had a way of introducing it. And I'm like,
Nice.
I'll be able to do it here. I was going to actually have him meet you guys at the Warriors compound, but I'm like, he would be staying here.
Yep. I like it.
So there you go. He's
Excellent.
basically essentially your if you guys like, even if you guys teleport, he will cart the distance with the cart and show up there eventually.
Okay.
Cool. Now we have someone that can cart our magic cart whenever we get back to
He
it.
can cart your magic cart. He can cart your magic shit. He can sell your shit for you, whatever you want. What's up,
Nice.
boys? Hello, Cosmic Adventures Live. What are we playing? We're doing Pathfinder First Edition, and this is our most chat interactive game. We will stop the game to interact with the chat if you guys are up. So, or if you have questions. So welcome on in. Of course, we do still. If we're in the middle of something really intense, we'll wait till afterwards. But welcome on in. You've never played? Well, we play all kinds of stuff. You're D5. We play D&D 5th edition, 2014, 2024, whatever your Call of Cthulhu, whatever your vibe is, that's what we're doing. So welcome on in. You got no problems with D&D 5th edition. In fact, Brian, isn't that what one of the major things you play outside of stream here? Is a lot of 5th edition, right, with your family?
Yeah, actually, we primarily play 5th edition with my fam, and we dip our toes in a few other ones too from time to time. But
And we've done Brian's run Dragon Bane here on stream. He's run Dragon Age off stream. I'm hoping to do some Fallout coming up as well. So all kinds of stuff. We have we basically, of the 4 Wednesdays of the month, we have 3 RPGs. So we cycle through them, and then we have kind of an open week, so I can fill in with other games. So we'll have Call of Cthulhu. Is that next week? It is. We have Call of Cthulhu next week. So next week is Call of Cthulhu, and then we've got 2 Pathfinder games, and then we'll have Old School 3 again, and then we'll have maybe Call of Cthulhu, maybe we'll have Mechanical Corners back. Sometimes I do map building, other kinds of stuff. So, and that's every Wednesday. Tabletop role playing every Wednesday. You can always find it here. So yeah, he can totally cart your stuff. He can sell stuff. He can, you can send him ahead somewhere, whatever you need. You just got to realize that, you'll learn his skills and whatnot. So
Cool. Yeah, and I think for the rest, I'm just chill at the bar and listen to, try to gather information, because that takes a D4 plus 1 hours. So
okay,
just try to figure kind of the lay of the land and what the hell's going on right now in Carrion Hill.
all right, sounds good. Brian, what are you gonna do?
I'd probably do the same. I did shoot you a quick
And
note
yes,
in.
you can. Yes, you can.
Okay. I'm assuming that was probably taking place back in Bistons Pond, as far as what I sent you.
Yes. If you would have done it if you would have done it in town, or at Maractus's place, you would have woken up being like, "Where'd my 8,000 gold go?"
Right?
Or however much it was.
However much it'll end up being, yeah. Actually, you know what Brian's gonna do? For some reason, he's not feeling inspired so much by gathering the rumor mill at the bar. So Brian lets you guys know that he's gonna just take a walk through the town.
Okay.
And I think he's gonna start walking around, and if he sees some beggar people, he'll hand out a few coins here and there, and just ask them how they're doing, and kind of get the lay of the land that way.
Okay. Sounds good.
I want to, as you leave, I'm just make sure to make your way back here. I know you might find another hotel somewhere, but just make sure to make it down here when you crash. We'll probably leave early in the morning.
Sounds like a plan. I'll be back. I just feel like maybe taking a walk and kind of getting the lay of the land's not a bad idea.
Okay.
No, I get it. That makes sense.
Yeah. So.
And then
Go ahead.
I'm gonna roll. I'll roll a d8. So about six gold worth of coins, I guess I would be spreading out.
Okay.
However, during that time.
Sounds good.
At least 6, we'll put it that way.
And Cosmic Adventures, enjoy. We also do a podcast here on Mondays where we interview authors, game designers. So if you're a D&D player, like we've had R.A. Salvatore on, Ed Greenwood, Eric Scott DeBee, all kinds of people on our podcast. We do interviews. We just had Dave Walters on not too long ago talking about stuff. So you definitely want to check out some of our Monday podcasts as well. So definitely make sure to let us know. Drop me a message. Shoot me a message on Twitch and with your link to your podcast, and we'll post it. It is on the link tree. But yeah, if you shoot me a message in Twitch, because you can't post links unless you're subbed, I will post your podcast link in the chat for people to check out. Because that's what I do! Rising tides raise all ships. So yeah, you kind of go around Carrion Hill, and Carrion Hill, it's a mixed bag depending on where you're walking.
Okay.
You notice that there's some of these lower areas that are just not the best. However, then you get to areas, much like any town, where you get to like the nobility area or the government buildings or the public buildings, and they're really nice. The streets are all cobbled, and they're pretty much everything is bleached white as it can be, with the middencrete and whatnot. So it definitely gives you kind of that, some places give you that stale, rundown feeling just because of how like dirty some of the areas are, and with the middencrete concrete look of it, it's so weird. But then you get to some areas that are like the merchant areas or whatnot, and they're like colorful painting on it, and it's vibrant and it kind of stands out, but everything's still got this kind of gothic dark architecture that is Ustalav.
Okay. Creepy.
So there's also a lot of areas where you look over and you'll be like, you're in between buildings and you'll just see like a hole. It's not a hole in the building, it's like a hole in the stonework. And you also see that sometimes there's just stairs that go down to places that don't really lead anywhere, or a doorway, like an archway into an alleyway that like goes into a cave, or just these weird like little holes here and there. Like there's almost an underbelly to this town that you're not quite sure of, and you don't really know. Based, heeding Matt's warning, you also want to make sure you get back in the morning. You don't want to get too far, so you kind of stick to a lot of the main roads and don't really see all of those.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, okay. I'll definitely keep a weary eye on things, but I'll still kind of try to work my philanthropic mojo, as it were.
Sounds good. Along the way, you do see, you do actually run across a building, and it looks like it's recently reopened within the last few months. And they kind of, like, you see laid down on the side is like grand reopening. But you can tell it's been laying there a while. So they've had some sort of reopening at this. It looks like It looks like a bookstore and a scribe type store, and it's called Eternal Etchings.
Okay. I mean,
And it stands out to you because it's the first place that looks like some place that would sell like anything magical.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely check it out.
You go inside and it looks like they sell a lot of scrolls, a lot of books, a lot of research.
Okay.
But what you also notice is that's only kind of like half of the shop, because they also do magical tattoos. And regular tattoos as well. It's a tattoo shop,
Okay.
but it's magic and magic runes and etchings. And of course they still do like air quote magical tattoos, like runes, like, you know, like, hey, this is the feng shui rune for enlightenment.
Okay.
Where it's like, it's magical, but it's not like actual magic, but it could be. Like, so they could, like, let's put it this way. Anybody can get a wizard's symbol tattooed on them. It's not the same as the wizards actually putting a wizard mark on you.
Sure.
So you can get a tattoo that looks exactly like the other person's magical tattoo, but you can get one that's not magical. It'll be the same runes. But they do the ones that are actually magical as well, and obviously those come with a much heftier price.
Okay.
And depending on how high it is, you get put on a waiting list, because the higher level people have to come to town. They don't live here.
Okay.
And that's kind of what you get
I
from them explaining kind of what it is.
I am very interested in potentially a magic tattoo.
Okay.
Yeah. Because as I know from another character I've played in sometimes in the past, magic tattoos can be really cool. Let me, if you allow, I'll go ahead and we don't have to necessarily focus on this. I can kind of look up some of the information and then kind of check back with you as far as
I
what
think
things
the
are
highest
maybe.
level you can get right now, I think, is like level 3 spells, or level 2 or 3 spell tattoos without getting put on a waiting list.
What about tattoos that aren't necessarily spells?
Yes, you can get whatever you want.
Okay.
That you can get across the board.
Then I'll grab my book and research that real quick if you want to jump over to Matt
Sounds
for a
good.
second.
Matt.
And I was on mute. Yeah, so it's gonna take me 4 hours, so good thing we got in here at like 6. But I got a 37 on my gather information.
You did. Right now, one of the big talks in the town is the funding going into scrubbing and whitewashing the entire town, including the filth and the tangle. Like, they're hiring people and paying them good money to hands and knees scrub and whitewash for the big wedding coming up. They want the entire city to shine like it's never shined before. And literally, it's been rumored that either the city or some of the people that are involved in the wedding have dumped like platinum pieces, like thousands of gold, to get this done.
Yep.
Also, the routine guards that live and work here in the city, they have been reinforced by a subcontractor military group, more so than they have been in the past. The town's city, and in fact, you find out that the county's military, because each county has their own military. The Versex County military is also slowly moving into the area because of a large event happening in Carrion Hill. You know that almost the entirety of, you remember the wanted people, correct? That were the Pathfinders, part of the Pathfinders. They were wanted. Eventually they overthrew you found out that the Pathfinder leaders, most of them had turned evil, and they were like hunting down these people that were actually heroes the entire time. Almost all of, perhaps 90% of those heroes at one point in time lived in Carrion Hill. And so their works within Carrion Hill helped bolster this city. While a lot of the city folk, they know that and they believe that and they are very thankful to those people, there is still a little bit in the back of their minds of they also brought a lot of dangers to the city. People that were after them, people that they've made enemies that were not good. They put a laser focus on this town because of their heroics elsewhere. Another thing that you find out is that the current mayor is actually the former mayor's daughter. And her father is no longer the mayor because he got promoted, and he is the new duke, and he is the one that runs the county of Versex. I mean, you got a 37, so
Yeah.
That's enough to also know that the current mayor is the one getting married. You also hear that she is personal friends with the Queen of the Elves. Her and her husband to be are both are two of maybe 5 humans that are actually allowed in the Elven proper country. Like even half elves and people who are elves that leave the country and come back aren't allowed into the Elven country proper. And not only the mayor here, but her fiance are both so well regarded by the Elven Queen that either of them can go anywhere in the Elven lands.
Nice.
That's what you get with a 37, which is a lot. Now, you're in the right place to get that kind of information, because you see the picture on the wall. Like, she obviously knows Mordok. And Mordok is one of those people. So chances are she knows the story. She and the townfolk here know their stories more than most. And so it's not too hard to get some of those stories out of the people. Hell, with a 37, you hear a little bit of Quinston's story, that he was friends with Alundra, and you kind of get the highlights of that adventure that they were on, years ago. Like, how did you get to meet Mordok sort of situation? Oh, well, funny enough, I'm through Alundra, and I met Alundra through this thing, and there's this evil demon in funny enough, the Elven lands that, tried to kill us all, but we survived the onslaught, a handful of us, and we were able to escape with our lives while the entire armies died.
I forget. Did we meet Alundra?
You did not.
Okay.
No.
Although I might have also forgotten,
Matt,
because I didn't.
We did.
We did. Matt's the only one that remembers it, because
Fair.
that was
Okay.
during the time shift.
Yeah,
where she kept
yeah.
changing on us.
And I never made any of those saves.
Correct. Matt was the only one that saw the reality, and so he remembered meeting Alundra.
Okay.
And it was at a time it was Alundra and Maractus both landed in the where the Star Stele was for a hot minute and chatted
Right.
with you guys. And then they both vanished. No, she vanished. He did not. And then he teleported away. So,
Right.
Matt, the answer is yes. The rest of us, the answer is yes, but you don't remember it ever happening.
Gotcha.
Neither of you. Anything else, Matt?
No, by the time I get done, it's probably like 10:30.
Yeah,
So
sounds good. You guys sleep. Brian, do you come back or do you go somewhere else?
I come back.
Okay.
Yeah.
You come back. You go to sleep. Brian, make me a will save. It is not versus Sonic.
Oh.
Before you ask.
Yeah. Okay.
I hope there's a game where everything is Sonic based, just to really make that one ability feel like it's useful.
I want to say it's
That
come
doesn't
up at
happen till
least
higher
one-
levels.
It's come up at least one time in the game, as I recall. But 28.
Okay. Thankfully, you you don't wake up going, I'm supposed to be at Maractus's place. Where am I? And forbid lose 2 days.
Right?
You do remember teleporting here. You do remember the events leading up to here. You do remember touring and looking at finding the tattoo place. You do remember everything that I've shown you.
Hey guys, check out this cool tattoo I got.
Why does it say no regrets?
Because it's
And Nick goes, dude, what's mine say?
exactly.
Again, people that are watching, Nick, Matt, and Brian are from the real world, so they can legit make those references, and the other people in the world don't get them. So yeah, Nick's like, dude, what's mine say? He's like, no, but that is sweet. That's pretty cool.
That is really nice.
What it probably actually looks like is it'll be like 3 mermaids, and they're kind of doing one's doing like the speak no evil, one's doing the hear no evil, and then the third one's pointing like out.
Nice.
'Cause
Cosmic. So Cosmic
the ca-
Adventures, just to let you know, one of the reasons some of the shenanigans is happening is we have this deck of cards. If you know anything about D&D, these used to be cards that took place in 2nd edition D&D. And when you draw them, they have an effect immediately on the game. So you might draw one like Brian got earlier today called Philanthropy. So he has to give money away. He feels that impulse. But it can be like Gift of Wings. Wings sprout from your back and you have to make a con save or die from bleeding out. Stuff like that. And we made it a channel point redemption. So people who spend an ungodly amount of channel points to trigger them can cause it to happen in stream. And so we've had one turn in today. And some of these memory losses may or may not be a card sitting in front of me that's been sitting here for months.
Long time.
But it hasn't happened enough for anybody to warrant it being worrisome.
Mhm.
Because we are playing ourselves, and this one just happened to be Brian's, who of the 3 of us probably has the worst memory of the 3 of us for certain things.
Well, yeah.
And we're all getting old, and we all have pretty bad memories. Like, there's a reason I have memory of a goldfish as a redeem for our video game streams. Gonna need to borrow 48,960 points from someone. Just build it up. Look at that. You're already 2,000 in. You're already 2,000 in.
You can save up. I already redeemed today, so you won't be able to redeem till next stream, anyways.
I don't think that's the case.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just tried it and it wouldn't let me use it.
Yeah, because I tried to pop one on both you and Brian at the same time.
Oh, is it?
And it's
Do I
set
have
to
it?
only redeem one.
Let me look. Let me look.
So it might be one a session, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, because I really wanted the magic to go off and hit both of you.
Because I was
It's been
trying
so
to bring
long
it
since
back
anyone's
around to-
redeemed it. I don't remember. Let me check.
I admit, Matt, I was gonna.
I do. I have one
Reverse
redemption
Uno
per
you.
stream. You are correct.
That's because Rolana Halo had popped
Dropped
two
a
of them in
bunch,
one
yeah.
game, and then
And then
Seventeen
Rank
Fox
dropped.
popped another two,
Right.
and we're like, we can't do this.
And it was chaos, yeah.
It's 10:40 and counting. Hello, Lyric. Welcome in. So the next morning happens. You guys look over the tattoos. Matt, do you say anything? Do you say anything or share any information?
Yeah.
Nick loaded all our shit into the wagon and checked over the wagon last night, and
Yeah,
chatted
I'll
with
just-
what's his name.
Yeah, I'll just say, like, yeah, they're cleaning the city. It's for some type of big event coming in. It's probably for the wedding. And then lots of guard presence. There's probably going to be some high, powerful people coming in for this thing, and they want to make sure no shenanigans happen. And that's probably kind of the reason that we were hired or brought in.
And Matt, you recall, and Nick recalls. Brian, you don't because you didn't make your memory check. But you guys, the two of you recall when you came here to drop off that sword was right after Mordoc's wedding. Like, you don't know it was Mordoc's wedding. You know it was some sort of wedding. And you realize that, like, half of the Riley's compound got smashed at that incident, at that, whatever that last wedding was. And now you're like, wait a second. We're going to that compound. Is there anything left of that compound?
Good point.
Lyric, well, I do have a scat of channel points, but I will save it for later. I used to have over 500,000, but must have spent a bunch. Now I'm only at 453,000.
Only.
Only.
Nice.
Damn.
I thought I was doing good at like the high 90s.
That explains why we haven't been getting as many of those Fame and Fortunes cards. I didn't realize I set it for one. I might change it to 3 and then just set a rule that you can do more. You can only do 1 per character. So, like, you couldn't stack 3 on Brian again.
Yeah.
I might change it. Dude, fire off 9 cards right now. Like we said, it is set for just 1 per stream, and it's been redeemed already. So yeah, you share that, Brian. In your walking through the town, you actually, everything Matt says checks out. You actually saw people scrubbing and whitewashing some of the Mincrete and decorating. Again, you saw some buildings that were very actually colorful. And you realized that in hindsight, some of those buildings were Elven owned.
Oh.
Probably trying to garner like house favor or, you know, recognition amongst any elves that might be coming to town of nobility to be like, hey, we're part of the heritage or whatever, we respect you, stuff like that.
Okay.
You also did notice that not only, because you were wondering, you're like, okay, if there's guards here, but those guys look military. Those guys don't look like just guards. And those guys don't look like guards or military. In fact, those guys actually look more badass than both the guards and the military. So you definitely saw like a presence of like 3 different types of fortification, but they were all working together.
Okay.
And they all seemed to work amongst each other. There is no like fighting for hierarchy or like, this is your district, not my district, or, you know, you don't get that sheriff's office versus local police thing going on.
Jurisdiction kind of thing.
Yeah, you don't get any of that jurisdiction crap. Hashtag lethal
Gotcha.
weapon. Anyhow.
Okay.
So
And you see Quinston is like, he's like, can I take your bags for you? And he like, he gives like a half a ham to the cat. Doesn't even ask. He's like, here you go, kitty. Gotta keep you nice and strong, buddy. Never know when you're gonna need to keep something from eating my face off.
He's.
most dangerous one of the party right there.
They've got a point.
Nick's like, yeah. Sad but true.
And Brian is secretly feeling a little jealous because he didn't think of doing that first. But he makes a note: buy a lot of ham hocks.
A lot of ham hocks. And you guys head out?
Yeah, get in the wagon and head out.
You head
Yeah.
out.
Oh, and I'll tip our good man like 2 gold
All right.
because all the effort he took to get everything set up.
Do you guys see the new map?
Are we supposed to be able to see all of the map?
Yeah, because I don't care. Because we're
Okay.
not in combat or anything. You'll get to it all eventually.
Cool.
Because in this case, it's like, it's not combat. There's no reason to shade stuff out. It's just mostly for story, and so the audience can kind of see stuff, and you guys can kind of like go along based on where your characters are. It's kind of free and open, as whatnot. So you guys aren't necessarily there yet, but you approach. So it's almost queasy because you're going across this stone arched area, right? That's natural. It's a natural stone arch, and the top of it is like cut out of the stone to make this flat road. So the road is probably about like a 2.5 lane, almost highway wide. And with these like middencrete borders on the edge, so like horses and wagons don't run off the edge.
Okay.
And you guys go down the line in your wagon, and you see there's like military all over this road. Military, soldiers, guards, something along that line. But it's also like you are high up, like there's water down below, and you are on a cliff. If you look over the edge, it's stomach turning, the amount of the amount of falling that you would do. Brian, who can fly, it actually looks like a cool place to just kind of like fly around and chill, except for you lean over and you can actually feel the gusts of wind from the mountainside, and the way that it whistles and blows because of the way the structure is and the way the water is and the pressure that's formed from this giant hill coming off of the rainy, swampy ocean lake that is here in Ustalav.
Okay.
And so you would, but you also realize that flight check might be a little difficult for someone
Sure.
of your size. Now up above, maybe probably a lot better. Further out, maybe a lot better. But right here, where the walkway is, you're glad that this thing is strong and secure.
Okay.
As you walk across, you've been here before, and Brian, you do recall, like you've been here. You just can't picture it in your mind. Like some things look familiar, but you're not quite sure what. It's like when you've been to a place once, it's not like you're gonna know your way around town.
Sure.
Matt and Nick, for some reason, have a really good memory of this place and recognize a lot more of the stuff. But you come across an area that none of you recognize, and it is this, for lack of a better term, complex. Multiple buildings. There's at least 3 buildings, and one of them is for lack of a better term, a fortress. And there are guards everywhere. I've put some on the map. I haven't put them all.
Gotcha.
You're looking at probably at least 100 to 200 guards, soldiers, military. Not all of them are Riley's followers. Not all of them are, Sandra's. Some of them are the city guards. Some of them are paid to be here. Some of them are county military. But a large and the most chunk of them are the actual people that work at this compound and are part of the Heartland Warriors mercenary guild, for lack of a better term. You also know that they don't like the term mercenaries because that means that they don't have a conscience and that they will just do anything for money. That is not the case. They also sometimes just do work for free for good causes. So they are a military that works under whatever their contract is that fits with their beliefs and alignments. As you approach, you actually see that there is a stable. You guys come in on a wagon, and you actually see that there is a stable there for receiving. And you see a large, burly, elderly gentleman chatting with a guy it's a halfling in some finery. I'm assuming you have Quinston go towards the stables.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
So the halfling you see looks like this. And he comically looks like you can tell he's got a belly paunch and little skinny legs and little skinny arms, and big furry feet. He is not wearing shoes. He is stereotypically halfling. Next to him, the person he is chatting with is this guy. He is not carrying a sword on him, but he does look like that. Sans the sword. Big, older human. And he's like,
Okay.
and he's like, "Excuse me, Winston." And he goes over up to the halfling. He's like, "Room and board, just parking. You need help with the horses. What do you need?"
We're here to meet with Riley.
And he looks over at
Pull
you.
out the paperwork.
Okay, he looks over at you.
He's looking to hire us for some help.
And the big guy grabs it and hands it to the little halfling. He's like, "Oh, they're for you." He's like, "You want me to unhitch the horses and get them settled?"
I'll look down at
Quentin.
Yeah.
Winston, sorry.
Winston's like, I'm here with you guys."
Then yeah.
The halfling, the other halfling, and they kind of nod at each other. The other halfling, the prim and proper one, looks at the paperwork. "Oh yes, you are the ones that Riley had told us about. We've been wondering when you might arrive."
Hopefully we did not keep him waiting too long.
He did not know when you would arrive. He is actually out on business right now. Apparently there is an emergency demon incursion somewhere he needed to attend at the behest of a friend of a friend.
Oh,
That makes sense.
And he says it so nonchalantly that's almost creepy.
Yeah.
He's just going to deal with a demon incursion. It's not a big deal thing. He'll be back for dinner. Is kind of the feel that this halfling gives you when he says that.
Is that something that happens a lot?
The halfling goes, "Well, he is one of the heroes that closed the Worldwound.
Oh, that makes sense.
He's
That's
fairly
fair.
While he is known as the greatest archer in the world, he's also one of the world-renowned demon slayers and devils, and really any evil outsider, to be frank."
That's
And
fair.
he says it like
Matter of factly.
but also he's trying not to. He's holding back. Roll a sense motive, actually. Roll a sense motive. The DC isn't very high.
Dear Lord.
Oh, Ryan,
Complete opposites.
Brian,
Yes.
you. So he's not doing it intentionally. He is trying to hold back his, like, this is him being like, what the fuck, did you just come out of a, did you just fall off the back of a wagon and were born yesterday? He's trying not to sound like that. He's intentionally trying not to offend you. But it's so difficult, given the circumstances for him, for whatever reason, that, like, this should be something that every child at the age of 3 knows. And he's trying so hard not to do that. And he's doing that, but you see right through him holding back because he respects you guys and he knows there's something off about you.
Okay.
And what Nick gets that he feels that the halfling thinks that we should know this, but like is not offended by it. But you know that he's trying not to be, and he's like, well, yes, well, I can give you a tour of the place.
That would be wonderful. Assume that we are like from another world, and this is our first time stepping here. How would you describe it to us or introduce us to it?
Question in chat, quick. What does DC stand for? You can't look it up.
Like
difficulty
class?
Yeah. Difficulty check. Difficulty class.
Basically,
For
the
sure.
target number you're trying to hit when you roll your die and add all your modifiers to it. It's the target number that you're trying to.
I think they're testing us. I think they know it, and they're
or
testing
exceed.
us by the you can't look it up. They followed up with you can't look it up.
Oh,
My answer stands.
Yes. Cosmic. We've been playing since 1990. Well, I've been playing since 1998, and these guys have been role playing years longer than me. In fact, the guy on the top is one of the first people I role played with.
our first characters can drink legally.
Our
They have been able to
yeah.
for a while.
Our
now
first
that I
D&D
officially did
characters.
that, man.
My second D&D character is like directly related to this campaign.
Yeah.
So there you go. Welcome in. No shots fired. No shots fired. I'm just letting you know. We have some experience under our belts here. He
And
goes,
a couple dollars.
all right
to
then.
buy
I will try to keep that in mind. So he's like, well, while we are here, I will show you to the stables, which are here. You can find the stable master and his daughter both work here. If you need anything, one of them is always around. We all have an open area. We also have some people that work on training and breaking horses for our small cavalry. And
Roughly how young is when they mention the daughter? I'm assuming that's the token that's further back in the stables.
yes, You can actually see
Approximately
her.
how?
Ipsy. She is like 10,
Okay.
and she
Then I would
she is like 10, but she looks like she could whoop all our asses. Like she's got like that stern look, like she has like, like if you've ever seen girls who have grown up with horses, and like they are the size of the horse's leg, and they will grab that horse if that horse is doing bad things, and will just like grab that horse and break it. Like she breaks horses. She's 9 or 10, and she breaks horses.
I'm gonna take. Actually, I'll take one step towards, then see that, and then stop and take it and head towards the halfling real quick, and then I'll put 10 gold in his hand and said for her educational expenses, and then continue moving on.
He's like, all right, and she literally hands it to the stable master, and he's like,
Well, no, I hand it to the main halfling, the stable masters, who I actually hand it to, but because I take a step to approach her, see how like competent she is, and be like,
Right.
I will then give it to him to take care of that.
Okay, and you say it to the halfling what it's for. I gotcha.
Yes.
She looks like she has seen some stuff in her tenure. She does. It's a great picture.
Yeah, it's a badass picture.
And of course, if you look, like it's obviously his daughter.
Sure.
So, if you would, he's like, I could walk you around through the stables. He's like, but it's a stables. It's rather large. When you're running a independent military organization of over 100 people that travel worldwide, we need a good stable master and a good place for horses where they can be well kept and taken care of. They also know their medicine and can take care of the horses if they are injured.
Do you stable any exotic creatures?
Yes, the upper floor actually holds, the upper level actually does hold, if you have flying creatures, can hold them.
Oh. Interesting.
We do have plans for an expansion should we get, say, griffins or hippogriffs or anything of the like, but that is not currently in the Lord Military's purview.
I see.
Yeah. Where do you know, was there a place for us intended to stay while we were in Carrion Hill? Perhaps like at the barracks, or would we be staying in...
We have rooms reserved. We have rooms here on the compound for you.
Oh, great. Good to know.
For you to stay at least while you are here.
Excellent.
He goes, would you like to see the main compound first, or would you like to see our crafting and merchant compound?
Actually, a friend brought us here, and he was hoping to speak with the mayor. However, our only connection to her was through Riley. And I'll point to Eli, because his whole thing of coming here was to be introduced to Riley,
Right.
and then...
And he introduces himself to the halfling in a fairly competent, diplomatic way, and explains who he is and what he's there to do. For those in the chat, he is the new headmaster of a new founding magic school that has high aims and high goals, and has or had deep pockets, as well as a lot of notable backing for this new school, and he's looking to get new students and spread the word. And the halfling tells him, we will make up a room for you to stay in, and you can stay the evening until I can make the appropriate connections for you. And he says, well, that will be fine. I do have the time for that. I have cleared my schedule to be here. And Winston goes, if you just come with us, I will tell one of the servants on our way. Would you like to, which building would you guys like to tour first?
Might as well go to this left building because it's on the way.
Yeah, what is that building over there?
All right. So feel free to move yourselves over to the building. As you walk to the building, you realize off on the right, you see archery fields and military outdoor fighting areas, but a lot of archery fields is in the open area on the right. It's almost like a good third of this military is archers, and really good ones. When you see the bullseye ring, not only is the archery board half the size of a normal archery ring, but all the circles are about half the size as well.
Okay.
They are required to be very accurate with archery, especially at a closer range. And when we say closer range, their range is longer than a standard archery range, and they're considering that a closer range. They are highly trained archers. Which makes sense, because as you've heard from him, the
He's
leader
the
of this
best archer
compound
in
is
the-
possibly the greatest archer that there is.
Okay.
So, you go in and you see, he goes, this is a lot of our, and he says, not only our merchants, but our crafters are here. All of our goods, all of our armor, weapons, and tools are made here in-house. Unless we need a large amount for some reason, it is now currently all housed here or made here. In fact, we have enough where people come here to buy them as well when they are in Carrion Hill. A lot of other shops and other blacksmiths as well will come here to buy, sell, trade, or do commission work.
Interesting.
Nick tells the cat to stay inside. He's like, please, and the halfling walks in. And he looks at the person behind the counter. He goes, Jay, please meet the gentleman that is working from the Pathfinders, one of the new temporary employees of Lord Savage. And you see Jay is... People in the chat said that the halfling looks sus. He's like, gentlemen, come on in. Enjoy the time. Winston goes, would you show them about? I have some stuff to do. And he looks at you. Winston looks, I'll be back by the time you're done with your tour of the building.
Yep, definitely looks sus.
And Jay goes, excellent, Winston. I will be here. I'll keep them. I'll try not to keep them too long. He goes, please, gentlemen. And he like flips up the countertop here and walks out. We have things of all different kinds. Mostly we have leather and armor of all shapes and sizes. You see to his left, there's like stands of armor, and you see sizes for halflings, for gnomes, for dwarves, for humans, for Goliaths, like different sizes of armor. You see steel armor, chainmail, leather armor. You see, he shows you saddles, weapons of all varieties, bows, like tools for like even just tools for fixing things, artisans' tools. He goes, well, we are kind of a one-stop shop for what you would say is starting adventurers and military folks. Of course, if there's any non-magical, mundane things you need, we have them, including alchemist supplies. We have a partnership with an alchemist here in Carrion Hill that works directly with us. And he looks out the window and he sees Winston and he's like, let me show you behind the scenes. He's like, I don't really know if I'm supposed to do that or not, but come this way. And you see there's a door behind the counter, but you also see there's another door over by the saddles over here that he opens up and he brings you guys into. He's like a little behind the scenes.
Sure.
Thank
you.
Well, you walk in there and you actually see another gentleman who is as soon as you came in, he stands up and he looks like this. And he goes, Jay, what do we have here? And Jay goes, our master leatherworker. He goes, this is, if I recall, it is Nick, Brian, and Matt, correct?
Correct.
He's like, this is our master leatherworker. Nick doesn't have a name for him. I have 3 characters, 3 NPCs here that don't have names, and it's all of the 3, 4. I have 5 NPCs here that do not have names. And they're the crafters, the stable master, and the stable master's daughter. I was thinking of letting the chat maybe try and come up with the names if we had very active chatters in here, more than 2 or 3 people chatting.
Probably not a Tanner McTanface, though.
No, not a Tanner McTanface.
I'm guessing. not so much. All right, fair enough.
But yeah. And he goes, well, it's nice to meet you. And he looks very like stern and straightforward, and he's very serious in his demeanor, but he still shakes your hands. He's like, it's good to meet you.
Good to meet you, so.
He's like, I have work to do. I was just on break.
Of course.
And Jay goes, well, let's follow you to your shop. You can kind of tell us the way. And so he follows.
He look like perturbed about that?
A little bit. But he also looks excited because it's something he's passionate about. So he also is like, I also want, like, I'm perturbed because I'm bothered, but I also get to show off.
Okay.
He's like, yes, please, come see. Come take a look.
Yeah, follow him.
So now, you guys have been around. You have seen crafting locations. You guys have seen homes. His crafting room, there are people's entire lives who are the size of this room. Now, yes, we from a D&D perspective, gaming, it's a 3x4 square room. But keep in mind the concept of what a medieval peasant lives in. They double stack in a room that's probably 1x2, and that's their home. And they eat and sleep, they eat and drink and do everything else not in their one room home.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Getting to cook and have a bathroom in your own home is obscene. This guy's workshop is very nice, and you can tell he is proud of it. Actually, you realize this entire building is brand new. This entire building was probably built within the last 4 months. And this person is very happy to work here, very pleased with all of his equipment. And you can tell by the tools on his workbench that do not match everything else that he is very experienced and he knows what he's doing when it comes to leatherworking.
Okay.
In fact, Matt had once given a boon to Riley for a bench of second level PC classes. All of the tradesmen, all of the people that I said that don't have names, except for the little girl, are all second level PC classes.
Nice.
That were given to
Cool.
Riley for boons. Those are what he took for that.
I like that.
So he explains to you all the different tools and all the things, and you realize he's got like scroll cases, he's got map cases, he's got you see he's got 2 saddles there. Like all of his saddles are like custom made. He's got like masterwork he's got 1 masterwork saddle that he's working on a commission, probably for like a lieutenant or a higher up in the military. And he is very proud to show you all of the work. And you realize the intricate detail work that he has on like a pair of leather bracers that you're guessing might be being made so that they can be enchanted later, because they are definitely of masterwork craftsmanship. And he's doing it in you're guessing is a fairly decent time, because he's working on all of these projects. Or he has apprentices.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Jay explains that the master leatherworker actually comes from Kadira. Or not Kadira, Katapesh, sorry.
Oh, okay.
That the master leatherworker actually comes from Katapesh. And there, a lot of because they live in the desert, the heaviest of armor that they prefer to wear is leather or enchanted metal that is cooled. So
Oh.
A lot of their armor smiths there are leather workers. And to be a leather worker in Katapesh and survive, you have to not only be really good, but you have to be great, because everyone's a leather worker in Katapesh. Everybody everybody who's anybody has a couple ranks in like leather working or like sewing or seamstressy, you know, any kind of that stuff, because it's so needed. Whereas it's situational here in Varisia, or someplace that's not a desert. So for him, it's very likely that while he's very good, it's still a overfilled market. And for him, this is a dream job, working for a noble and a legendary warrior and his people, and being able to craft better than a lot of people probably in a good chunk of Ustalav. Like, there probably aren't very many leather workers as good as him. And that's kind of the backstory that you get from the conversation between Jay telling you his backstory and him saying stuff, and you get his, like, he's got a thick accent, and a common isn't his native language, and so sometimes, like, he'll say stuff in another language, and Jay will respond in common, but Jay clearly understands whatever the language is. And Jay goes, well, let's not keep him too long. He's got work to do, and sometimes he enjoys his work, and we're keeping him from enjoying. He's like, yes, get out of here. like he's having fun with it. Like, he's not really a prick, but he really gives off that demeanor.
Nice.
Jay tells you, opens up the next door, and brings you in. He's like, oh, he's not here again. He's like, well, that's probably for the best. He's like, this is our Boyer Fletcher. He's a cranky little gnome, but he's really good at what he does. And you actually see you see the window is open, and you hear outside the window, hey, I heard that. And he peeks in the window. And you see him.
I will greet him in Gnomish.
Okay. He's like, oh, hi there. You, Archer?
No.
Nah.
No. I point towards Nick. I think he has a bow.
Yeah. And he just kind of like nods and he looks at Jay. He's like, I got work to do. And he turns around and, like, you see he turns around with a bow and, like, he lines it up and he shoots the bow at a target. And he's like, no. Wrong. String's just not right. It's just not right. And you see he's like, comes back in the room. And he just fucking ignores you guys. He just comes in the room and goes to work and doesn't give two shits that you're there. Like, he literally goes right under, like, not between Brian's legs, but, like, if Brian's sitting there and he's, like, got his arms on his, like, hips or whatever, kind of looking at it, or, like, leaning against the wall like that, he just goes right underneath. He didn't give two shits. And he goes right to work.
Nice.
And Jay's like,
just look towards the doorway, like.
Yeah, and so there's a doorway that goes out here, and the doorway you came in.
Okay.
And Jay just goes, yeah, so this is the archery room. This is where he makes all the bows. It's one of the bigger ones. And he goes up to the next door, and he pauses, and he looks at you guys, and he whispers because of the previous thing, and he goes, do you guys have, how do I broach this? How do I broach this diplomatically? Do you guys have weird fucking fetishes?
No, my fetishes are pretty standard.
I'm a bit at a loss as to what you mean by.
He's like, well, you're gonna have one now. And then he says that Jay says that, and he knocks on the door. And you hear pounding inside, and you can actually feel heat coming off the door. And he goes, just, if you've ever heard it, never mind. And he's like, this is our smithy. And he opens the door, and he smiles, and he steps inside. And you see a half orc at the smithy. And Nick walks in and goes, and like the look on Nick's face is obvious. It's very obvious. Like, this half orc is not Nick's type in any way, shape, or form. But even he's like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
All
And
that
she-
for level 2.
What's that?
Said
Yeah.
all that for level 2.
All that for level 2. And she looks up and she's like, and she's got like kind of a deeper, like a not a baritone, but like a deeper alto kind of a voice. But it's also kind of like a little raspy and a little almost husky. Which makes sense being half orc. But at the same time, it's like, that just makes it even worse in a good way, but not in a good way. And she's like, welcome in. This is the Forge. I'm assuming we're doing another tour, Jay. And she sets the ginormous fucking hammer down that she's forging with. And says, well, come in.
Walk in.
She's like,
Yeah.
we make all kinds of tools, weapons, whatever is needed. If you need something forged, if you need a custom job, I'm accustomed to many different types of weapons. I've had very strange requests over the years. I've also seen my own fair share of battles. And she looks at Jay and she's like, and Jay will tell you, so don't try anything. And you see, and you guys can, you don't, no sense motive needed. Jay immediately goes to his arm and rubs it. You know, like when somebody punches you in the arm,
Mm-hmm.
you're guessing that she punched him in the shoulder and probably broke it.
Okay. Hmm.
Well, it was a pleasure meeting you, and
And she goes to,
Sorry.
and she wipes off her hand because they're kind of black. And she's like, she introduces herself and holds out her hand to shake your hand.
I shake.
You'd expect a blacksmith's grip, but she's also not dumb. And she's like, she definitely still leans into her, like, being feminine. And so she is actually quite gentle. Now, she's still got calluses on her hands because she's a blacksmith,
Right.
but definitely you can see some of the human side of the half orc, because you've seen a lot of half orcs, you've seen a lot of female half orcs.
Mm-hmm.
She's probably got a higher charisma than you would expect. Even if you don't include any magical things, she may or may not have magic on her. You don't know unless you have something that allows you to see magic.
Mm-hmm.
But she introduces herself to all of you and shakes all of your hands, and says that she hopes to see you all around on the compound in the near future.
Yeah. Do you work with Mithril often?
No, I've worked with Mithril, she says.
How?
In fact, I
much-
saw that cat you guys came in with. Good work.
Yeah. I have my breastplate is made out of mithril, and I want to get kind of the missing pieces to get full plate.
She nods. We don't have a lot of Mithril here, so I'd have to
I
order
have
some.
20 pounds of it.
She turns her
Which is-
head.
which is the difference between full plate and breastplate. I have a feeling we're going to be here with enough time that I could get them made, but we didn't have that
Yeah.
in the last place we were in.
She goes, "You can put in a commission order with Jay here. If you're working for Riley, then you get the standard 10% off."
Ah, perfect.
She's like, I also do bounty work as far as items and materials go. So I will pay 10% extra for specific items I may be looking for, specific weapon designs, specific rare materials, gems, wiring, materials you don't normally find in this area and can't buy off of traveling merchants very easily. If you bring any of that back, I will give you a 10% bonus on the cost of the materials.
I think that works. For me, at least.
She nods. She's like, excellent. I'll have to get your measurements and things. I don't have time to do that right now. You can either come back or looks at Jay and goes, or Jay can get them for you
Either way.
before you head out.
I'm like, provided you trust Jay's measurement taking capabilities.
Jay's like, "Ugh, I'm offended." Like, he's very like, but you know it's an act. He's like, my good friend, I've been doing this a very long time, and I am in charge of this entire facility. And that is one of my jobs. I'm also in charge of the front desk. I'm in charge of measurement taking for both the leather worker, the archer, and Our Lady armor and weaponsmith here.
And I go, great, and then I'll do a little punch to the arm that she had apparently heard at some point in the past. more to get him to flinch a little bit than anything, and then
And
I'll
he
look at
does
her
flinch,
give her
and he does flinch, and she
And I'll-
smirks.
I'll give her a little wink, and then I'll like, well, I don't want to take up any more of your time, and just kind of, yeah.
Sounds good. And she reaches over and picks up like the hammer with ease. Now you guys have seen strong people, right? Like, she's not stronger than Mordok in any way, shape, or form. But she's a half-orc, and wielding that giant hammer is what she does for a living. So
But I bet she also won't send us to the plane of fire. So we got that going for us. I'm just saying.
New shirt from Epic Realms. Hey, do you have fetishes? Wow. Measurements, the things
What
that
is that?
require stools and the ability to bend. Step stools and ability to bend. Yes, for sure. Exclamation mark! Join to join the dungeon, guys.
Oh, hey.
So yeah, he's like, I would show you the upstairs, but it's everybody's living quarters. Some of them, you know, the gnome has family, the leather worker has family. Those family, especially the leather worker has a wife and 3 children that help. They all work in the building. They all stay here. All of the facilities and all of these employees work here. Some of the other employees of the facilities also live upstairs here, is what Jay says. It's like, I would love to show you the place, but it's their personal quarters. He's like, but it's their personal quarters. I'd love to show it off.
No,
It's
that
beautiful up
makes
there
sense.
and great.
Yeah, we don't need to see that.
If people are
He's
giving
like,
a tour of where I live, I wouldn't want to walk into my house. Like,
and so here's the thing. When he says that, he drops the act per se. He becomes completely serious in that moment. So you
Sure.
know that his like super jovial, outgoing, like, oh my, how's it going, or you know, whatever, it is an act. You see it plain as day, but you weren't sure if that was actually his personality or not. But
Sure.
it tells you that there's more to him than the flash and nuance. There's something more to him than just that, and that's when you start to wonder if the look and feel of the con artist is in fact the con, and he really is in fact good at it. Because you guys have been around the
Question.
block, you guys have multiple lives, you can see that kind of shit, and he lets that drop and
Sure.
lets you guys in on that secret.
Cool.
So do you so you sell arms and armor,
Yes.
but you're also kind of, so are you kind of the quartermaster, for lack of a better term, as far as supplying other things for your troops, like magic?
He's like, I don't necessarily supply the troops. I'm in charge of the crafting area and the merchant and the front end shop. We have actually adventurers that have come here and will be coming here to buy, sell,
Okay.
and trade when they come to Carrion Hill. A lot of our income actually comes from our shop, and that's what helps
Fair.
supply our military. The
Well-
military doesn't.
If
He goes, the
if
military
you're-
doesn't necessarily always take payment for certain work that it does.
I understand. If you're well, if you're interested, I do have the ability to craft a small repertoire of like scrolls with magical properties that people can use, especially certain healing or illusionary magics, which could prove useful for maybe your scouts or those that have some magical adept
He's like,
to them.
he goes, I love that. I appreciate that. But we have a standing deal with one of Riley's friends who has a scroll shop here in town.
I see. No worries.
We work in partnership with them. So I would be more than willing to buy things off of you that you have found adventuring. Yeah, he says, huh? But it would be at base cost. Just because of
Of
our
course.
standing deal, we don't want to take away from them. However, you probably could just go there and sell it as well for the same price. 6 to 1,
Sure.
half dozen to the other.
Fair enough.
A very nice way to say, yeah, no, I'm not letting a group of random murder hobos into the private quarters. I don't care who you're friends with.
Right?
Uh,
100%.
He's like, if there is anything you are looking for, feel free to let me know. If there's anything that we don't create here, we can usually get it. He goes, if it's of the magical variety, it may take a little bit of time, but we can get most magical things. He's like, I don't want to say there's fingers in pockets, but our connections at this facility are very wide and run across the world.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
He's like, enjoy your stay. Feel free to come by anytime, even if you just want to chat and visit.
Will do.
Yeah. Definitely.
So that is that facility. Of course, he doesn't show you the offices. There were doors that you saw that were just completely not there. He did show you the restrooms are. The restrooms are more on the top, the west end, essentially, which is north on this map, but that's the west end.
Sure.
So over there there are restrooms. Those are actually connected to the public can use them if needed, but yeah, there are a handful of offices, including his office that are there. With that being said, you see Winston is like, all done, ready to go?
Yeah.
Yep.
He's like, excellent. And so Winston starts walking. He's like, and he explains kind of the history of the construction here and the building here, as far as the Heartland Warriors go. It is up to you whether you want me to explain it, or if you're like, I already kind of fucking know, then I will just give the chat a small background.
Yeah, I know. So for me, you could give the chat a small background.
So he explains. Brian, I'm assuming you don't need it detailed.
I know the origins of Riley's character.
All right.
Maybe this iteration, I never had any characters really with the Shadow Lodge per se.
So
until now, or till recently.
he explains that this entire area was insane. It was an asylum for the mentally insane. And however, it was corrupt and was causing issues for the city. A group of adventurers were tasked with coming in and fixing the situation. He's like, as far as I know, they did just that. And as a reward, the Pathfinders and the city of Carrion Hill rewarded all of those adventurers with different things. Riley didn't want most of what they were offering and chose instead to acquire the asylum. However, after he built his base for the Heartland Warriors and started building that up, as he started to grow a following of other like-minded individuals, people he used to work with, and he goes, and he looks at you, Brian, he's like, different world. The Worldwound was a open sore, a entire country that had succumbed to a demon and devil invasion. And we've been fighting it for years. And there are crusaders that went there to help fight and defend it. Riley and his friend Mordock were two of those crusaders who spent many times on the front line of those wars. After a incident, Riley no longer worked there and joined the Pathfinders with his resume, and eventually came here and started a new calling. All of these soldiers have heard his name, whether they were friends of his from the wars, from the Crusades, or people he's met along the way, or former Pathfinders. They all decided to follow his cause and start this new organization. We call the Heartland Warriors. He says as the double doors to the chambers open, and you actually see a open chamber hall. In the front hall, the hall goes left and goes right. You see guards sitting there. It's not just two, you see also other guards going around. But the entry, there are different hallways. But here in the opening is a vast trophy room. In it, you find relics from the Worldwound. You find a trophy from what looks like Tian Jia of a golden bow. And it's got a red phoenix feather etched in the bow's trophy. You see dragon heads, you see animals you've never heard of, you see mounted items, relics, broken weapons of all sorts and varieties, all of them labeled like a small museum. What stands out is the number of trophies in area. They are all archery related trophies. The one that stands highest amongst them all is made out of a red gold and is adorned with rubies, and is the one etched with the phoenix feather. The head of it says the winner of the Golden Phoenix Archery Championship. You guys know what the Golden Phoenix tournament is? With the Ruby Phoenix, sorry.
Is it the Ruby Phoenix?
Yeah,
or
the
Golden
Ruby Phoenix, sorry. The Ruby
Okay.
Phoenix. I kept saying gold, but yeah, the Ruby Phoenix champion. So the Ruby Phoenix tournament is world renowned. Everybody knows what it is. But they also have little side challenges and little side tournaments that are separate from the main tournament. And those are like, in arm wrestling, think of the Olympics, the modern day Olympics. Well, the grand champion is the one who wins. If somebody wins all of the contests under a single heading, so like strongman, well, this is the strongman for lifting a bowling ball. This is the strongman for the caber toss. This is the strongman for that. Very rare people win all of them, and it shows this trophy shows that Riley won every single archery championship that there was. Archery contest at the Ruby Phoenix tournament.
Wow.
Which you, Brian, ran, so you're the one that ran that, so thank you for having Riley win that.
That's right. Riley did win that.
Yeah, you had Riley there and winning it, and I actually built it into his backstory. It's yeah. So, well, not his backstory, but part of his storyline. So you actually see, like, it stands out to you, Brian, above everybody else for some strange reason. And Winston kind of explains what they all are, where they all came from. Some of them weren't things that Riley was directly, like, he didn't directly kill all of these things, but some of his friends might have, or had a hand in, or he was there when it happened, or it was gifted to him. You actually see a number of, like, elven items that are here as well, including an elven archery contest, at which the little plaque underneath it says the only human to ever win the elven archery competition. He was a special invited guest. Isn't that right, Matt? He was the only invited guest, so he's the only human that's ever won that competition.
Correct.
So, yeah, and do you have any questions for Winston about the whole complex so far? And that goes for the chat, too. If the chat has a question, an in-character question, as a person that would have been touring the entire facility.
No, I do not.
Yeah, no, I'm just kind of taking it in. And
so, no need to move your characters. We're going to move up. Straight up. Because I'm going to kind of fast track through some of these. Once we got it going, you kind of get the idea of what this tour is kind of like. This main building, it is basically a ceremony room. If they are having any kind of, like, public ceremony, graduation might be here, a wedding might be here, a party might be here, all kinds of different events can be held here. You could do a religious event here. In fact, you see in the room there are representations of multiple different religions on the walls, so that the place could be used as a chapel if need be. If the opportunity arises, there are, like, little offerings that say, hey, these are the gods that are represented here. If you want to give your thanks, you can actually do that here in its downtime, and that's kind of what it is now. It's just kind of an open room, open to the, the people who work here to come and do whatever prayers they want to say to whatever deities they'd like. To the left side, you find that is literally in-class schooling for the soldiers. They learn tactics, they learn structures, they learn architecture, they learn how to break down doors, they learn how to go around buildings, they learn history, chess, strategy, all of that stuff. Anything that comes to combat or war that is mentally learned is in these rooms to the side here, as well as offices for all the trainers, the teachers, the lieutenants, anybody that is like an official person. Some of the officials that work here, some of the higher ups, actually have homes in Carrion Hill and don't live on compound.
Sure.
So over to the side over here is the dining area for guests. The entire north wing, this whole wing, downstairs and up is dedicated to guests. So you will not necessarily find the soldiers eating in here or doing anything in here. It also sometimes doubles as a meeting room for the higher ups, but generally it is for guests and dignitaries who are visiting the compound, which is you. So if you want food, you can spend your time down here and have food, unless there's like a meeting or something going on, in which case you'll be informed. The bathrooms are in the back. There's a kitchen here. They have a full kitchen. They have a staff running the kitchen. If you want food, you can order the food. They'll have it made, although if you're guests, they will just make the food for you while you are here. And it's usually based on whatever the situation is. If they have a king or queen here, they're probably going to make way nicer stuff. That being said, that brings us to the upper level. So again, the upper level, he does show you the south wing is all bedding for soldiers and trainees when they're here. So that entire wing is on the upper floor is meant to house soldiers, to sleep in, to stay, to live. That is where they stay. Of course, this is still a defensible location, so they have turrets, they have defenses. You actually see a lot of defenses. The front area of the thing is filled with bows on walls and in stands. You actually realize they have oil and drop areas for that area you walked in on down below, because that's the best entry is the front door. The entire thing is made out of middencrete and it's reinforced with stone and steel. So if somebody does try to get in, their only way they can get in is there. The back end, if you look out the window, the balcony, the back end, that water down below, that's off of the entire cliff face that you walked over.
Mm-hmm.
So it's literally hundreds of, it's like a skyscraper fall. So unless you fly, you're not coming in that way.
Yeah, and that's even like a long shot for like a catapult.
Correct. He does explain to you that there are flat partitions that are actually on the roof that actually have ballistas to defend from aerial attack, because this place was once raised by a dragon. This is newly designed and created, and they've got spotters up there. They've got their job is to be on the lookout for invading flying anything.
Sure.
And they have multiple catapults and ballistas up there to defend. Roll your knowledge engineering if you have it.
That would be 21.
I'm just going to take a 10 on it because I can. 23.
All right. Because you both were recently there and you know them, you actually recognize the siege weapons that are used to defend the area. You actually recognize that they were commissioned from Bistons Pond.
Oh, okay.
Do you say anything about that?
Oh yeah, I'll say, that's the work of that delightful married couple in Bistons Pond.
He's like,
Yeah,
oh
I'm
yes.
trying to remember their names.
He goes, Riley met them a few months ago. There was an attack in their town, and to re-bolster the city's funds, he commissioned these from there instead of where he was originally planning.
They make good stuff. I've used one of their crossbows.
He nods. Well, that's good. Good to know. Good to have another person reinforce his decision.
Yeah, I bet shipping them here was expensive.
Yeah. You will see, so he shows you in. He says that they have no other guests currently staying here. That may change. And depending on that, they may end up paying for your stay at the hotel or put you up somewhere else if they get somebody else that really needs to be here. But for now, you guys can have your pick of the rooms in the upper level up here. Now, most of them are the same except for this one. This is their royal suite. That is for, like, if you have a king or a queen staying here that's like living in house, that's the room they're going to get.
What's the room in kind of the middle on that with the desk?
It's an actual library, a full library.
Oh, okay.
So if you want to do any kind of like a research or even light reading, it's got a library. I think it's got all of the skills, but I'd have to double check which ones it has.
I'm going to pick this corner room.
Okay. Yeah, room with the view.
I thought that there might be 2 windows and I can get a cross sea breeze or river breeze.
I guess I'll just pick. Yeah, I'll pick the other room that's facing the get the river
Sounds
view
good.
or what have you.
Nick takes this far one because he wants to be by the bathroom. And
That's
that way he can leave the door open and the cat can sleep in the hallway. Because you
Yeah.
realize that like the hallways here are closed doors.
Mm-hmm.
So
Sure.
like there's a door here and a door here and here's the thing, everything up here is because it's for dignitaries, so you don't really want it to be middencrete. So it's all like oak and mahogany. However, Matt. Oh no, both of you rolled high enough. You realize that inside, that's just on the outside. It's still middencrete beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
So like
Okay.
it's paneled with heavy wood. So this wing is actually extra fortified. Like I, as Nick, paid extra money for all of these rooms to have double their hit points.
Nice.
Specifically to protect any dignitaries or visitors that might be there during an invasion or anything like that. So yeah, all of the doors are reinforced. They are able to be barred from the inside. Now, that also means that you're barred inside and you can't get out. But if you need to, it's structured in such a way that can happen. You also realize that the architecture is created in such a way that if a fire starts somewhere up here, the library should remain intact. That is why it is centered in there and created in such a way where it is completely surrounded by the middencrete, and that the doorways are created in such a way that the fire and the heat shouldn't be able to get inside there.
Okay.
They have steel doors on the library. So that is the quick run through. Of course, you guys are more than welcome to look around the entire map, which I'm sure you probably could have. I did not make the upper deck Griffin area just because it's such a pain in the ass to do all those that I was just like, it's there.
Don't blame you.
Because it's not being
Yeah,
used,
that's
so it's
fair.
like, but yeah, that is the overall of the compound. You guys have met, I believe. Oh, you guys actually didn't meet. So when you came upstairs, you also would have met this guy. He was overlooking. You saw him when you walked into the church area down below, or the open ceremony area. You saw him up in a balcony looking over. He was kind of like leaning over the thing, watching you guys get the tour. And you saw him. And his name is Father Muldain. And he is actually a father. He's a priest. And he has been with Riley since the first incarnation of this structure. In fact, he was one of Riley's first Heartland people that joined the Heartland Warriors. He actually worked in the Worldwould for Riley's first tour. And he is a priest of Iomedae, I believe. Yep, he is a cleric of Iomedae. And he is a former Silver Crusade faction.
Cool.
But yeah, you met a couple other people as well. Let me go back to the other island because there are so many NPCs for you guys to meet, to get to know about, that you can interact with later down the road. You guys would have met this guy. That is Lieutenant Malachi. He is in charge of the training, I believe. There are two people that are like the military guys. So one of them is in charge of training. The other one is in charge of the actual forces after they are trained. And but that is Lieutenant Malachi is his name. He is a Magus. You find out. All of these people that you're meeting now have been with Riley for a while or have known him previously. And then up here, when you toured the This guy? Yeah, this one. Oops. That is he just goes by the name of Andalek. He does not have a official name, but he is the one in charge of the actual military forces. Lieutenant Malachi is the trainer, and he is in charge of the actual military forces. He is kind of like the second or third, I guess, in command of the army. There's somebody else named Brant that you hear the name of, who is actually like second in command, and he is not on site.
Hmm.
And I believe that is everyone.
Okay.
Andalek, okay. That is everybody as far as as far as the structure and the place goes. Those are kind of your key people that kind of run it. And Winston he's like the head butler. Winston is your, he's in charge of like, this is where you sleep, this is where you go, this is where, he's in charge of all the staff that works here. He's in charge of the cooks. He's in charge of the stable hand. Like, you get the feeling that while Andalek is the second or third in command and is running the military, Winston is like running everything else that's not military related.
Yep,
Like,
running the day-to-day operations.
He has been running the day-to-day operations. He works, he's about the same rank as Jay. Jay runs all of like the people that, all the crafters and the merchant and all that kind of stuff. Jay is in charge of all that. And Winston is in charge of like this day-to-day operations of the staff, and he's basically the head butler, more or less. So, I'm going to keep you guys on the first floor as far as the map goes, but we can story of the mind if you guys like go to your bedrooms or whatever. I just kind of wanted to give a layout. I don't expect there to be any combat here on these maps, but they're there to use should combat ever arise in any kind of games. It kind of gives you guys a layout and gives the audience a layout of what the map is and how vast the structure is, because it's not very often in a game that we as players, because again, Riley is originally a player character, as you guys know, but for the chat, I really wanted to show that when you do something like while the old school 3 is here, they are, the next level characters for the future. So now they are the ones coming into this compound and getting work from these other adventurers. And that was one of the things I really wanted to do with the old school 3, which we've done now. This is, the third or fourth place now that has been under the guise of, other player characters doing jobs for them. So he tells you, I'll let you guys get settled in. As long as you guys don't muck around in the south wing, you pretty much have free range of the whole area. We don't, if you're going to steal something, don't let the guards catch you. And he says that in like a ha ha ha, like you guys would steal something sort of way.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense.
Because the butler does have kind of a fun sense of humor, even though he looks kind of uppity. But he needs levity because a lot of his work is serious, How come the laundry in room 3A didn't get done or whatever? Because the staff takes care of all the soldiers' rooms and stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
Like the soldiers have to fold and look nice and do all the soldiery stuff, but they don't do their own dirty laundry.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they're they get assigned to go help the house, as punishment or something. That kind of stuff. You also find out that a lot of other than the stable hand and his daughter, a lot of the staff live in Carrion Hill. They don't live on site here.
Because they're not part of the military, they're extra service.
Some of them are, and some of them are followers. But not all of them. Some of them are hired or paid or actually followers of someone else. So what do you guys do while you are here? You guys have, a couple hours to get to know the estate, to get to know the lay of the land, check things out. The first thing Nick does is Nick wants to go check out the kitchen, because there's a point at which that Nick asks if can we use the kitchen instead of having somebody else cook for us? Can we use the kitchen? We've been to all these inns and pubs where we eat food and that's great, but sometimes I want to cook, and cooking over a fire isn't the same. And so Nick goes to check. He's given permission, and they let the staff. Winston lets the staff know when you're touring the area, and he goes back to work in the kitchen, or to check out the kitchen and kind of look at what the stores are and what the stocks are, and talk with the cook and talk about food. So that's what Nick does.
Yeah, I'm gonna go set up time and work with that one person to get my measurements done, to get the new pieces created for my armor.
Okay, sounds good. You can do the math. I'm not gonna give you a price and stuff. You can do the math on what that's going to cost and how long it's going to take. And it shouldn't. So you don't have to worry about the enchantments because you have legendary armor. So as soon as it becomes part of it, it'll just be your meditate for 8 hours to basically make the magic attuned to the new parts.
Yep. So time will be based on how good her skill is.
Right. I'm just talking about math. I'm going to probably wave the magic wand on how long it's going to take her.
So you're just saying for cost and stuff.
Yeah. For cost and stuff, and then I can math out the skill stuff later. She does have her tools are magical and give her a bonus to her skills. All of the artisans have magical tools. Every single one of them.
Huge.
Yeah.
Well, since everybody has magical tools, did they have a place or someone here that can actually enchant things, or no, is that in the town?
They said that they can get enchantments done, but they don't do them here on site.
But they don't do them here.
Right.
Okay. Then I'll wait to
nobody has craft magic arms and armor. Nobody has that. And nobody's skill is high enough, and none of them are mythic to be able to do that, so.
Okay.
But it's said multiple times that when you're people who know people, you can pretty much get anything.
Yep.
Yeah.
I.e., Riley knows Penrod, Riley knows Maractus, Riley knows Cleo. If you want something magical, he can find people to get them made. And a lot of those people have followers that can also do that.
Yeah, at one point I'd like my crossbow to become at least +1 so I can shoot things with it that need a magic to hit.
Yeah, I mean you can trade it in. You can.
I have an underwater crossbow, so I can shoot it underwater. So I just rather get it enchanted.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, you could put in a commission and ask for it to be made, and then it would be however much time.
I'll check in on that to see what can be done for that as well.
Sounds good. Make sure to remind me in our chat after we're done, and I can do that. What about you, Brian?
Honestly, I'm going to be working because I keep meaning to do it, and then I keep forgetting to do it. I'm going to start working on scribing some scrolls, or a scroll to begin with, because you can do, 1,000 gold pieces a day?
Correct.
Yeah.
And what's the limit for 2 hours? If it's under a certain cost, I forget.
I don't know.
Either 125 or 250.
Okay, so the scroll I'm crafting then would take the 8 hours.
Okay, sounds good.
But it's a cure serious at 9th level, so.
The library is a great place because you guys are the only guests here right now. So the library is as quiet as you want it to be.
Sounds perfect.
And you get the whole room to yourself unless Nick or Matt or something comes in there, or unless a staff member comes into dust or something. But if they see the doors open and they know you're in there, they're probably just going to pass on it and come back to it later. So otherwise, getting an individual classroom down where the military does classes is a possibility. or anything?
No, I kind of liked hanging out at the library.
Yeah, and
That
it's like it is plush. It's very plush. Like again, that wing is meant for nobility. It's what its
Sure.
intents are. So like it's more plush than when you it's about as plush as when you were staying at the Pathfinder Lodge in Bistons Pond. Actually, it's more plush because they have servants that keep it up at all times.
Sure.
So, of course, you guys can work like you've been told. Like if you want to work with any of the military, like you guys are more experienced in combat than some of the military, than some of the trainees. So like no problem training and working with them as well during your time here. With that being said, eventually, each of you gets a summons to meet in the main chamber downstairs.
Okay. I head down.
Nick comes in. Nick's cat is being cared for at the stables. And you guys, like on your way walking in, Nick's like, God, that damn cat doesn't want to leave. That girl loves him, and vice versa. I think she wants to ride him. It's like, no,
Okay.
he's like, no joke. Literally had a green bow in his, around his neck.
That's cute.
And you guys walk in and you see, okay. The first thing you notice is whoever is in here is important. As you're walking in, and it's like right at the doorway because you guys aren't close enough for like an introduction or anything yet. As soon as you walk in and you see Winston, like you guys all have sense motive. Winston's physical demeanor changes to the most proper you've seen him since being here. Very like shoulders back, standing tight, one hand behind his back, one hand in front of him. His footsteps is fucking perfect and immaculate. The first thing you see obviously somebody, whoever so it's not the first thing you see, but you see the person in the back, they're just back into the left. And it is this person, and she is in full, like, noble regalia. And very well dressed. Some of the finest noble attire you guys have probably seen since you've been in Galarian. However, you can easily tell that she is not the important person. The person in front of her is. She is standing there very patiently, very regally, kind of watching you all enter. And you can tell that almost instantly, it feels like she's completely sized you up, figured you out, and judged you all. What is strange is to her left. And this is something that Nick notices immediately, is this dog creature. His fur kind of makes leaf patterns on his skin. And he watches you very intelligently. Like, you've seen how the cat watches you guys and watches people. You feel like this dog could destroy the cat in a chess match by the way he's watching you so keenly. You also notice that on his legs are like leather ties with encrusted like gemstones on his legs, front legs, kind of like bracers. He's got like this intricate gold earring hanging from one of his ears. And he's got this like very well, like he's got the collar and it's very like etched and engraved. You think that it's stitching, but you guys have a decent enough perception amongst you and you can share the information later to anybody who fails. The stitching isn't stitching. The stitching is intricate runes that are very tiny and minuscule to the eye. Whatever it is, it's very likely that the collar is enchanted.
Interesting.
And he introduces her, goes, Lady Mayor Hegri, let me introduce to you the gentleman that your fiance has hired and has in the highest regards, is here to do the work for yourself and he on the situations for which that I am going to leave up to your discretion to give to them. And she's like, thank you, Winston, you may be excused. And he's like, yes, my lady. And he like walks backwards to the door and then pivot foots out and leaves and closes the double doors behind. And you see two guards step in. Well, you see two guards step in as he's closing the double doors. What do you do? Or say?
Kind of just do like a little bow towards her.
Okay.
Congratulations on the upcoming nuptial.
Thank you. Tell me a bit about yourselves. I only have the little things I've heard from my fiancé about you. I'd like to get a stock on yourselves from your own mouths.
Pathfinders have worked with those that your husband has worked with in the past.
You could say a little bit with that we're maybe proteges of Dexter, give or take.
I am a follower of Iomedes. As I'm like sitting here and like have my shield on my back and my sword probably still, I'm assuming like probably peace bound here, wearing my wearing my bird, like definitely look like the martial class person in the group.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is our maestro and healer, and this is our our pyromaniac and tactics master. Point to Nick.
Nick's like, nice to meet you. I'm also a animal lover. And you hear the dog chuffs at him. Almost scoffs or chuckles. And she looks at the dog. And the dog looks at her. And the lady behind and to the right of her stands ever so stoic and perfectly, and just kind of watches the entire situation. And the lady looks back at you all and goes, what are your experiences in combat and negotiation?
Truthfully, pretty good, I would say.
She goes, details? She's like, I haven't got all day.
We worked with one of the Afrits to negotiate water rights with Nereid from the Plane of Water to find and I just kind of like go through the things that we did in the Plane of Fire.
Okay.
To talk about like our negotiation skills.
Okay.
Because that was all negotiating with the various people.
Yeah. Okay. Brian, what do you put in on this?
We negotiated the relocation and distribution of a network of dwarven brewers from the Mwangi Expanse up the coast to little old, I think it was Varisia, wasn't it, that we brought him to?
To Falcon's Hollow, which is in Andoran.
Oh, sorry, to Falcon's Hollow and Andoran. to set up their brewery there. Lovely stock, by the way. I mean, we've negotiated with dragons, mermaids. I don't think we've done like a lich trifecta yet, but you know.
Before you continue, I'd like you all to make will saves, please.
I know this is a loaded question.
No, it is
Is it
not.
versus-
It is not Sonic based.
Okay.
Is it versus fear?
It is not versus fear.
Okay.
Sweet. I rolled pretty good. I got a 28.
Okay.
$34.
You both realize that there is a spell in the room that tells her whether you are lying to her or not. However, had you not felt the magic and your history with magic, because I'm not going to, like,
Mm-hmm.
part of this is also story. You realize that part of this is to judge what you say and whether or not you're telling the truth. So she
Mhm.
knows whether you're bullshitting or not, and there's literally magics in place for that. And you realize it's not from them. You don't know where the magic is coming from. Because that's a lie. Matt, you know this room can be triggered for that.
Yeah.
That the person who triggers the room can tell if somebody is lying to them.
Okay. I will then say, besides our gift with the tongue, we all have been trained in our various arms and armament. Talk about the defending Bistons Pond from the blue dragons that attacked, and then talk about our fights against the Chilaxian forces in Andoran,
And the Aspis Consortium.
and the Aspis.
All right. In this, you realize that because you're under a zone of truth, or you're under a truthful action, she's going to know that you are not lying about shit.
Mhm.
Which means no matter how outlandish the shit you say would sound, how ridiculous it would be to anybody listening to it, she would know you're telling the truth. And I'm going to give that to you, Matt,
Mhm.
because you rolled high enough on that like you could literally tell her the history if you wanted to divulge that
Mhm.
about your past to help. If you wanted to, that is up to you.
I don't want to, but
Okay.
what I'm gonna say is, the important thing is that each of us brings certain skill sets to the missions that we undertake, such as noticing that someone has activated a zone of truth within this room and can tell if we are lying, which I will guarantee that their spell is working correctly and we are not.
Nick, because she wants to hear from all of you, talks about your time in the Mwangi Expanse and secretly infiltrating one of the most known networks that is a burden and a plague on the world in the Aspis Consortium, infiltrating multiple levels of that within the entire Mwangi expanse and shutting down a large, very large operation of that, including taking not just a single coveted item of identification that almost no Pathfinder has actually walked away with, but let alone you guys literally just have fucking piles of them. Like each of you has at least 3 bronze and a gold medallion, Aspis Consortium identification medallion, which is completely unheard of just to have the lowest ranking medallion, let alone higher ranking ones and multiples of them. Everybody roll a diplomacy check.
I have that skill.
I would also say, oh, by the way, if you come across a caravan / carnival called a Dark Moon Fair, run. It is nightmare fuel. Don't go anywhere near it. You'll save your sanity.
Nice. I'm just checking to see if I have any boons.
Oh, nat 20 on the diplomacy. Woo woo.
It's there.
Yeah, check to see if you have any boons.
Oh,
Go for it.
Yeah, I'm assuming she doesn't count as a person from the Mwangi or from Bistons Pond.
She does not.
Oh, that's a bad roll. I'm gonna spend a mythic point and an inspiration point.
Excellent.
I'm assuming she's not considered a person from Bistons Pond.
Nope, that's what Matt just said.
So 25.
Everybody done with their rolls?
I think so.
All right. So you each succeeded on your diplomacy checks. You got 2 bonuses from your descriptors and explanations on them. 3 because of the descriptions and the explanations on them. Matt, for calling out the magic, is 1 more considered success. Had anyone talked about their previous lives under the Zone of Truth, would have been bonus points as well. But also, spending a mythic point in her presence during this conversation also increases your points. So, not only did you succeed in impressing her and convincing her that Riley was right on what he should do, but she trusts you, which you realize is not an easy feat to accomplish in a world of cutthroats and nobility, in a city or in a country like Ustalav. She nods, and you see she looks at the dog, and you see the dog's. So you know when you watch like a TV show, and it's like the animated animals that are talking, and their like lips are moving in a way that they shouldn't. The dog does that. It goes, "Yeah, I think they're good too."
Huh.
And like even Nick's eyes are like, "What the fuck?" And she goes, Sandra looks at you, and some of the decorum goes away, but not a lot, because you realize that being a noble is what she is. Like, This isn't her standing like trying to be noble. This is like what you see is what she is just like very much a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, "Allow me to introduce Adrasti." And she points to the dog. "This is my friend and ally. He is an elven warhound, gifted to me by the Queen of the Elves. If you've not heard of them before, they are highly intelligent, very smart, very loyal, and very strong. This behind me is my handmaiden, Valina, and she curtsies upon direct introduction. She is very accustomed to adventuring heroes and the like. She is also one of the premier seamstresses and garment enchantresses in Ustalav."
Is that so?
She looks at you, Matt. She's like, my dress offers me just as much protection as your plate mail."
Wow. I might need something commissioned.
"If you do good work, that might be an option. But," she goes, "let us go sit at the table and discuss what work Riley wants you here for. And by that, what work I want you here for." And she walks to the room. She sits here. The dog sits here. Valina sits on the other side of the room by the kitchen, in case anything is... In fact, Valina starts telling the servants what to do, and Valina like goes and gets drinks, and has them go and gets drinks, and brings you guys drinks from the stores, and you actually realize that you are given wine, but you realize that the wine is actually from Thrushmoore.
Okay.
It is wine that predates Mordock, but use a lot of the local things there, and it does have a sort of honey-ish flavor to the flavors, because they did use a lot of honey notes in their wine. She says, "No doubt you've been here long enough, and you're skilled enough to know about the wedding coming. Or perhaps my fiancé told you about it. And she goes, "We have work for adventurers, but then we have work that we need for people who are a little bit more special. We have plenty of skilled people, but what we need is something else, something a bit unique, and people with their own unique look on the world. We also will need you as heads of not heads of, but some of our lead security. We wanted an outside eye because we've had incidences in the past with weddings. I heard you were here for the aftermath of the last wedding held here."
Nobody's been married in the town since then?
She goes, "Big weddings.
Oh,
The last large wedding held here."
I was just thinking the amount of trauma that stopped a whole town from getting married for like 3 years.
She says, "While the wedding proper is going to be held at the capital, the reception will be held here. We will be, for lack of a better term, paraded through the town in celebration. The entire town is celebrating this, as I've grown up here to be the city's..." She goes, "The mayor's daughter is a interesting position, but when you are raised your entire life as the mayor's daughter to a city that looks up to him as a hero, You too earn that trust. As far as the city is concerned, I am one of them. Even the lowest of peasants in this town would die to save me. Because I am one of them. And I've always represented them, and I've always worked for them. The things Riley and his friends have done for the city, and for the country, and for the world are known well over. This is a celebration for them as much as it is for us. Because of the unique situation and the friends myself and my fiance have, this is going to be a very renowned wedding attendance. People from nationalities that don't normally even leave their countries may be here. However, it looks bad if the local noble dignitaries and their squabbles can't see it fit to leave their homes to come to this wedding. It looks bad on our country as a whole. There are a small handful of dignitaries we have not heard from. Most of them from adjoining counties, the dukes of their counties. We would like you to convince them on our behalf, work for them, run errands for them, whatever it takes to get them to owe you a favor, and thereby owing us a favor, so that they will attend the wedding in their goodest of graces. We can't have just random adventurers doing this task. We also can't have close friends doing the task, because close friends have a stake in the game, and some of our friends, while they are more diplomatic than they once were, still have a tendency to just smash things to get a point across. However, we also want people that can hold their own, make snap decisions, and not ruin something that could be a wondrous diplomatic event or a ruinous diplomatic event. That's where you come in. I will give you a list of dignitaries. You go to their counties, you convince them to come back. We will set up the envoy for you to meet with them and to work for them or to do tasks for them. You will essentially be on loan to them for tasks. We would not ask you to do anything that you would be unwilling to do yourselves. My husband is a devout follower of Iomade. We house many paladins here. We are friendly with paladins and their ilk. My father has a long-standing history with paladins and undead slayers in his life. So we would not ask you to do anything untoward, and if they would ask you to do that, you do follow your own moral compass. From what I understand, it aligns with ours. However, Ustalav can be dark, it can be evil, it can be downright nasty. Is this something you can help us with?
I look over to Nick and Matt, and I just kind of nod.
As long as it does not allow me... My concern is my bond with Iomade is growing stronger, and I must uphold her code that her faithful follow. If one of these noble lords sends us on something that would cause the inheritor to lose her faith in me, and it becomes something, a loss between my faith and their allyship, I do not know if I could get them to be allies.
She goes, I wouldn't want you to. If that's what the cost is, it's not worth it to us.
Okay. Then yes, I'm in.
She leans forward. My fiance is a devout follower of Iomade. He is not a paladin. But you would be hard pressed to find a more faithful. This entire facility is an honor to her. While there are individual shrines in that room, this entire structure is a shrine to her. This entire organization, from what I understand, is really a shrine to her. I don't think he even knows it, but it is. Everything he has done now or in the past has always been for her. While I am his fiancée, she is his mother, as far as his point of view is. I hope that helps you understand the position we are in.
I think it does.
You also notice that on her wrist, she has a bracelet, and you realize it's adorned with Iomade symbols, much like your guys' trinkets that have hidden holy symbols. Her bracelet is pretty much all Iomade. You can tell she also worships Iomade.
Cool.
Yeah.
In fact, the majority of the people here, not all of them, but the majority of them are Iomade in nature. And you think about that and you realize what she said, and you realize that in that main room, there actually isn't a shrine to Iomade. In all of those holy things that align with the good deities, Iomade doesn't have a shrine anywhere in there.
Interesting.
Go ahead and roll your knowledge religion.
I'll just use an inspiration to get a 20.
One, you have a lower DC than Brian and Nick have. Provided they want to roll. Nick's not going to roll.
You said it was knowledge.
Religion.
I mean, I could.
33.
3. I could take a 10 and get a 17.
Yeah, that's not going to cut it for the Brian. Matt, you realize that the layout of the floor pattern, the layout of the altar, while it doesn't necessarily show on the map, it's actually the entire room, that entire chamber. If you're an Iomade worshiper and you look closely, you realize the entire thing is designed to worship Iomade.
Mm.
And it actually is built into the structure of the building. And all the way from the front door all the way up, some of the layouts, whether it's the carpet, whether it's the stonework, continues the whether it's holy symbol or like the sword of Iomade, it's like it's all throughout the structure is hidden things to Iomade. When she says this entire thing is in honor of her, it's literally built into the walls and the buildings of the whole thing. This building is a Iomade church, essentially.
Cool.
So, with that being said, we are about a half hour past our time. So I think it is a time to raid on out. So thank you all for hanging out for this. It's been a wonderful story so far, and kind of getting us back on the way. When next we return, we will kind of go over any like little off-screen things we did. Maybe talk about some of the selling stuff. Think about some of the characters or NPCs you want to interact with or chat with before we continue the story next time around. Because they are all characters that may have things or have knowledge or whatnot before you get to go through all of the actual nobles you have to try and convince to come and join the wedding. With that being said, thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate all of you. For our new followers that came in, our new people watching, Sand Spider who just got in here, for Maeve who's been hanging out and chatting, for Cosmic Adventures who is new here and hanging out with us, Matrix who came in right away, all of you guys, thank you so much for being here. We will be back tomorrow at about noon Central for more Cyberpunk and hanging out and shenanigans. With that being said, we're going to raid on out to our friend Robert Hartley. So take care, have a good one, enjoy the rest of your evening, and we will see you down the road right here on Epic Realms.